Above the Green Dawn Mountain. The Green Dawn Mountain is the closest mountain to the steep hill, with a height of just over 3,000 meters. It's not that close, but it is the only closest mountain to the steep hill that Jabba did not destroy in his experiments, or more accurately, he was unable to destroy it. This mountain contains a significant amount of minerals and hard stones strong enough to keep it together to this day. So even though the mountain is no longer green now after the explosions of Jabba's array burned everything, it is still holding on. On top of this mountain, Robin was sitting in the middle of a pile of scrolls and glass bottles. The strong winds at the top of the mountain were enough to uproot small trees, but those light scrolls seemed as if they were ignoring the wind here. Robin's clothes were not dirty and his hair was well styled. Everything around him suggested nobility and great wisdom, but all of this did not hide his tired eyes that looked as if they had not tasted sleep in years. "We salute your excellency." Several shadows descended in succession and bowed slightly. Robin raised his head and nodded towards them with a smile. "I didn't think everyone was at the headquarters today. It seems the war is going well." Alexander stood up straight and smiled. "Since your excellency created the warlords, everything began to go our way and we progressed quite smoothly for 2 years. And when your excellency brought that dragon girl Flora, everything turned in our favor even more. She did not follow your excellency's words to move freely and come to the battlefield only when we called her, but she is currently staying permanently in the Western Army with Victoria, and I heard that they have formed a strong friendship as well." "Oh, that's reassuring." Robin raised his eyebrows slightly and then nodded. "It's true that the 5-year term is almost up. Send her a message that I want to see her here as fast as possible." Alexander nodded and closed his eyes, clearly starting to send the message. In front of Robin now was Emily with her Elizabeth, Alexander, even Old Goo, and a number of other emperors from different paths. As Robin ordered, Emily tried to gather at least one emperor from all the available paths. One of them, for example, uses the major heavenly law of life and the other uses the major heavenly law of lightning. Robin raised his eyebrows when his eyes fell on a silver-haired youth. "Someone has already reached the Emperor realm using lightning. Am I to understand that you are General Raiden?" "Yes, I have broken through to the Martial Emperor's realm just 2 months ago. This humble subordinate salute your excellency." Raiden took 2 steps and knelt down on one knee, the sound of his heartbeat being heard by everyone. "Has your dream finally come true, little boy?" Elizabeth put her hand to her mouth and said, "Your excellency, Raiden came to the headquarters today to personally deliver the reports from the Eastern armies and ask about your news. He has been wanting to meet you for a long time. Finally, his dream came true today. Miss Elizabeth." Raiden looked to his side with a pleading look while still kneeling. Robin gave a big smile. "A young man who is not yet 40 has managed to secure a prestigious place among my generals. A young man full of ambition and talent that will surely bring him a brighter future. I too have wanted to meet him for a while." During Robin's words, which he spoke slowly, his eyes sparkled with a faint golden glow for a moment as he secretly examined Raiden, although he did not think he would find anything, but his curiosity to examine anything forced him to do so. "Your excellency's praise is undeserved. If it weren't for your excellency, I would be currently herding cows somewhere. If I do have some talent, I will definitely put it at your excellency's service forever and—" Raiden was about to finish his words when he saw the golden glow in Robin's eyes increased and features changed to shock. "Your excellency." Robin stood up and took a few quick steps towards Raiden, then grabbed Raiden's shoulders, raised him up, and began to study him with the eyes of truth more intensely. Robin's actions forced the rest of the emperors to look at each other out of the corners of their eyes and wonder what was happening. Finally, after Robin's eyes roamed over Raiden's entire body, he returned to looking into his eyes. You can use the 4th stage of the major heavenly law of lightning, aren't you?" "What?" Alexander and the rest were shocked and looked at Raiden in stupefaction, waiting for his response. Raiden scratched his silver hair for a few seconds and replied sheepishly, "It is true then. It is impossible to hide anything from your excellency. You could use the 4th stage of the major heavenly law of lightning and you didn't tell us." Elizabeth didn't hold herself back, so she took 2 steps and gently slapped Raiden on the back of his head. "I'm sorry, Miss Elizabeth, but when I saw that everyone couldn't do it, I decided to keep it to myself so that you wouldn't be upset with me." Raiden looked at the ground with an embarrassed look. His personality is usually the impulsive, prickly type who is ready to attack any enemy that appears in front of him, no matter how high his level is, but here he feels that he is just an infant. All the emperors present are over 100 years old. This Miss Elizabeth is approximately 800 years old, while the youngest person present, His Majesty Emperor Robin, is almost 200 years old. Among these people, he feels that he is sitting with his elders and not with other generals. But how? Alexander looked at Raiden from bottom to top, but he didn't see anything special. Even after covering him with his soul sense, he didn't see anything different about him either. Robin straightened his back and rested his chin on his right hand. The major heavenly law of lightning in his body is abnormally active. I can see small lightning bolts moving in his veins in certain patterns automatically even though he does not have any variable particles. What is happening to him has gone beyond the limits of the major heavenly law of lightning technique that he used to break through, as if his mind needed my techniques to comprehend the laws but his body didn't really need them. Then he pointed at the foot of the mountain, strike that spot with a 4th stage attack. Yes. Raiden stood up and gave the military salute, then took a few steps to distance himself from everyone, before raising both his hands to the sky. The sky quickly became cloudy and the lightning bolts intensified until they became visible. A large number of lightning bolts condensed together and then descended as a column of lightning. Boom! Elizabeth, Emily, and the rest of the emperors automatically took a step back in shock, but they quickly looked back down. This is the power of the 4th stage. A crater 10 meters in diameter and more than 30 meters deep appeared at the point where Raiden struck. Amazing! A number of lightning bolts that are invisible to the naked eye formed a temporary pattern in your blood, allowing the attacking energy to pass through easily. And now that massive pattern has disintegrated and the lightning bolts have returned to form small patterns that help you increase the speed of your cultivation and affinity with the major heavenly law of lightning. Robin sighed and shook his head. They weren't exaggerating when they described you to me. The planet spirits sometimes give children gifts like a strong soul or a solid body. In your case, it gave you a body with an unreal affinity with the major heavenly law of lightning. I don't think we'll see this degree of affinity again anytime soon. Raiden rubbed his head again and nodded a few times shyly, since he launched his attack while taking quick glances at the emperors standing behind him. Their looks were not pleasant at all. Some of them were deep in thought with their eyebrows furrowed, and some of them were looking at him with clear envy. When Robin felt what the rest of the emperors thinking as well, he laughed loudly. All right, you may not have what the spirit of planet Jura gave Raiden, but that doesn't mean that you will never use the 4th stage of your laws. Have you forgotten that I am still here? Your Excellency, you mean? The emperor user of the law of life took a step forward with his eyes shining. Robin smiled again. Then with a wave of his hand, the scrolls and flasks lying on the ground flew. So 1 scroll and 1 flask fell into the hands of each emperor. I want you to read the scroll and understand it well, then drink what is in the flask in one go. I know it tastes bad, but you will do it anyway, and then move what you have drunk into their bodies according to what you have understood from the scroll. Is everything clear? Yes, Your Excellency. All the emperors responded quickly. Good, you may start. Your Excellency, what is inside those vials? What exactly do they do? And why didn't you give me the same? Raiden looked around and wondered. After the martial emperors received the scrolls and vials, they all sat down and began to do as they were ordered. Currently, there were 16 martial emperors sitting cross-legged in a semicircle around Robin. Some of them were still reading the scroll, and some of them had already swallowed the contents of the vial and began applying the teachings. As for Robin, he was sitting next to Raiden on the side, leaning on his right hand. After hearing the boy's question, he responded with a smile. Each vial contains something different depending on the path the user uses. For example, the vial with Old Goo contains the blood of a beast at the top of the sage domain called the Fire Mountain Phoenix. It's quite a strong beast that lives in the wildernesses of the planet Nahari and is mixed with a number of fiery and soothing herbs according to very precise standards. As for the one there with Alexander, it contains the blood of the Windbite beast and its origin is from the Orphan Blood planet, and it is also mixed with a number of herbs with Windpath that have been identified and collected from the 4 planets. As for the rest, well, you got the point. Then he pointed towards the scrolls. As for the scrolls, they contain almost the same content. They all contain a very special technique. This technique is a combination of the superior energy control technique in addition to the deep absorption technique, both of which were invented by Jabba. You may call this newly born technique superior absorption. It also has a few side notes, such as when they activate the technique where they focus on absorption, some patterns they have to create in their blood using the super absorption technique, and several things like that. This seems very complicated. You said that each one of those vials contains beast blood and a number of herbs. Raiden furrowed his eyebrows slightly. Is it strengthening their affinity with their path or something? You may consider it that way. Robin shrugged his shoulders, smiling. This technique and formula will give the body a false familiarity for a certain period. This period likely varies depending on the person, from a few hours to a whole day. During that period, the body will not resist the passage of energy through the veins, and will find the most appropriate ways to facilitate the movement of energy. Without further explanation, you can imagine that their bodies will be like yours, but for a limited time. Your Excellency created something like this. Amazing. Raiden looked at Robin with wide-eyed eyes. His Excellency didn't even know he existed or what was different about his body before today, and yet he somehow made copies of him. Or, more accurately, he was able to find a loophole in the system, a loophole that could produce the best possible result without leaving any side effects. Your Excellency is truly an unparalleled genius. Now you have not only solved the problem of your martial emperor's impotence during battles, but the way I see it, if these substances accumulate inside the body, they will certainly increase their true affinity towards their paths. Let's not get our hopes up too much. It may happen that one of them undergoes a fundamental transformation and gains a body like yours, or it may never happen, but at least the problem of their inability in battles has been solved temporarily. Robin spoke with slightly furrowed eyebrows. If this method succeeds, his martial emperors will be ready to fight in any systemic war he leads, but they will remain unable to defend themselves in peacetime. In the end, this method requires quite a preparation time. Master, it seems that the news was true. Have you finally finished your research? Meanwhile, a human shadow landed next to Robin. The owner of that shadow was muscular, but not to the point of hindering his movement. His long braids reached all the way to his lower back, and tattoos covered a large part of his body and neck. Who could he be but Jabba? Oh, Jabba. Yeah, I finished it. Robin did not seem very happy with the meeting. He merely scratched his rubbed with the tip of his index finger and looked away. Jabba took a few more steps and greeted Raiden with a raised eyebrow, then looked at Robin again. Can we talk now? Robin looked back into Jabba's determined eyes for a few seconds before sighing and rubbing his eyes. Raiden, go for a walk or something. All right. The silver-haired boy gave the military salute and retreated, but he did not get far and went to stand with the rest of the martial emperors. As for Robin, he got up and walked until he reached the cliff of the mountain, and without looking back, he opened his mouth. Okay, we are alone now, speak. When will we move towards Nahari? Jabba got into the matter directly. The turmoil has reached its peak there. There are no longer any laws that prevail in the 4 regions. Eastern, Western, Central, and Southern. There is nothing left but killing and destruction, especially after more batches of divine weapons arrived at the revolutionaries in those regions. The cities of the giants are collapsing, and the colonies of humans and other intelligent creatures are being razed to the ground every day. We must intervene. Robin nodded several times. That's really unfortunate. But why should we interfere? Jabba furrowed his eyebrows and merely looked at his master. Don't give me that look. I'm not holding the hand of the rebels and forcing them to fight, and I'm certainly not the one who forced the Nahari giants to enslave intelligent races for hundreds of thousands of years. One side takes what's right in its own hands and the other reaps what it sows. I'm just a simple merchant in the middle who doesn't care about either of them. Robin shrugged. Jabba took 2 steps forward and quickly replied, Haven't you earned enough as a merchant then? Nahari's natural energy density and the number of intelligent beings there, which are estimated at least 70 billion, and the high-level techniques that an Anonymous has distributed, all that have contributed to the production of tens of millions of knights and hundreds of thousands of saints and sages, and it's still counting by the day. And the more their numbers increase, the more the war rages. The 4 regions have collapsed politically and economically. Everyone there, whether giants or non-giants, is dying of hunger and does not see the light at the end of the tunnel. Please, enough is enough and let us go to Nahari. Take charge and correct the situation. The news he receives about Nahari hurts him psychologically and physically on a daily basis. According to the time plan Jabba set, the army should have moved to control the eastern region of Nahari at least 2 years ago. They had to begin invading and unifying the rest of the planet by now. But until this moment, Robin has not shown any intention of going to Nahari, and he has not stopped providing them with weapons. Wasn't the true beginning empire supposed to invade planet Nahari to unify it? How is it possible that he is still trying to strengthen the people he will subjugate in the future? Doesn't he know that their huge numbers will stand against him if he tries to welcome them under his banner in the future? Isn't the logical way to do this to accept their loyalty first and then give them those techniques and weapons? Does he even intend to annex them to the empire at all? But Robin's response to going to Nahari was shorter than he expected. He just turned to face him and then raised his shoulders. I don't want to. You don't want to. Jabba froze in place, looking at Robin in shock. Robin didn't add a word either, he just made a simple nodding gesture. Master, what is it exactly you don't want? Jabba tried in every way to remain calm. Don't you want to fulfill your promise to the all-seeing God and go to Nahari to prepare to confront the invasion? Or is it that you don't want to stop supporting chaos on the entire planet and will just watch by the side while they wipe each other out even before the invasion arrives? Master, what is it that you not want? Hey, watch your tone. Raiden shouted from afar. Don't interfere again. Robin raised his hand and quickly silenced Raiden without giving Jabba a chance. Then he returned to focus on Jabba's eyes again. As for the internal fighting, as I said, I am just a merchant who has nothing to do with what is happening. If I really wanted to exterminate the inhabitants of those regions, I would have sent part of the demon army or even part of the human army to wipe them all out. You know the information blockade imposed on the northern region, and what you do not know is that the northern region has been quite busy lately. So do not wrong me with thinking that I want to kill them all that matters is that what is happening now will serve the bigger picture later. As for the invaders, I have my own plan to deal with them, but the right time has yet to come. Jabba was silent for a few seconds, clenching his fists as if he wanted to crush it before his voice came out hesitantly. If I may ask, does your plan include saving the people of Nahari from invasion or just preventing the invaders from gathering spoils? Maybe some of them will survive, maybe not. I am not in control of fate. Robin replied coldly, hands behind his back. So that's how it is. I should have expected this. I should have known that you would not change your view of planet Nahari no matter what I do to help. Everything had been decided since that damn day. Jabba sighed and stopped squeezing his hands. It seemed as if he had aged 100 years at this moment. Sigh, that's not true, Jabba. If it weren't for your presence, planet Nahari wouldn't have been under the invasion of a single enemy, I tell you that. And certainly no one would have had an opportunity to survive. Robin tilted his head to the side and spoke with his eyes half open. You're right. I should be thankful for this precious opportunity. Jabba smiled as he looked down for a few seconds before adding, but what if I'm not satisfied with just this opportunity? What if I want more for my homeland? If you are trying to influence me to change my future vision, then I am sorry. The plan has been set and my will shall be executed. Robin stated firmly, but he quickly sighed and continued in a calm voice. Jabba, even in my worst psychological states, I never hated you, nor did I consider you like the rest of your kind. This is because you are truly different from them. You are a person destined for greatness. I understand that you feel you are responsible for protecting your homeland because there is no one else who can hold that position, but you saw what happened to me when I tried. That place is hopeless. Continue on your track, Jabba. Learn and explore the universe and strengthen yourself. Only in this way will the number of survivors of Nahari increase when the picture is complete. The two remained silent for about another minute before Jabba took out a thick book from his space ring and passed it to Robin with both hands. This book contains all the progress I have made in my work on the body cultivation array. The array can now help people with strong will achieve physical strength capable of confronting a sage within a period of only 5 years. There are a few aspects that need development, such as that it consumes a large amount of energy, more than 1,000 energy pearls per person, or that the expenses of making a single array are high due to the scarcity of components. But as long as your excellency is present, of course you can overcome these simple problems. Robin continued to look at the book and browse through it until he heard the word Your Excellency from Jabba, and he returned to looking at him with furrowed eyebrows. At this moment, Jabba fell to his knee and his forehead touched the ground. I know that the body cultivation array is nothing compared to what you have provided for me. If you need me for anything, Your Excellency can contact me, and I will do what I can to satisfy your needs. Thank you for everything. Are you severing your bond with me as a disciple? Robin sent the book to his space ring and went back to putting his hands behind his back. To be your disciple, I must consider you my master. I must listen and obey. But this time I have to break away from your will and return to save my homeland. Your Excellency deserves a better student than me. The words came out with difficulty from Jabba, his voice sounding as if it was choking with tears. Robin also remained silent for a while before his calm voice came out. When you go to the Nahari Union sect, I allow you to announce that you are an official envoy from me. They will listen to you and rally around you when they hear this. Oh, there is another thing. When I took you as my disciple, I made you swear not to leak anything you learned from me. You are pardoned from this oath. Use everything you see is in your best interest. And be careful. Thank you, Your Excellency, thank you. Jabba raised his head and touched the ground again 3 times, before rising, bowing again, and leaving. Again, Raiden did not know what to do in front of a situation like this, so he started rubbing his hair with his right hand. But he was a little reassured when he saw that Robin's facial expressions were still calm, so he decided to go stand next to him again and change the subject or something like that. But after taking 2 steps, he heard the sound of liquid falling, drops. Drops of blood were falling from behind Robin's back. He dug into his hand with his fingertips until his blood flowed. Raiden stood still and looked away. He knew at this moment that His Excellency's calm facial expressions and steady heartbeat concealed pent-up anger. And he was right. That's why Robin refused to talk to Jabba for as long as possible. He knows the boy's love for his planet, or more accurately, he knows that Jabba sees himself as a descendant of the legendary Heaven Chosens, and that he must be like his ancestors, trying to save the world until he dies. He also knows that one of the reasons why Jabba followed him until now was that he hoped to change Robin's mind and make him return again to Nahari. But change his mind about what? And make him return for whom? Jabba had just said the truth. Everything had been decided the day he met Richard. Several hours had passed since Jabba's departure. Robin was still standing in his spot with the same cold features as if time had frozen. The martial emperors were still sitting on the ground, shutting off their 6 senses to comprehend or use the technique, so they didn't really know what happened. Only Raiden was standing at the side, glancing at Robin at times and at the ground at times, rubbing his hair sometimes and biting his nails sometimes. He knows that the situation is bad and that Robin is burning with anger right now, but he does not know what he should do in this awkward situation. Should he console Robin as if he lost someone dear to him? But what if His Excellency was angry with Jabba and it backfired? Or maybe he should talk badly about Jabba for leaving. But what if His Excellency loves his disciple and cannot bear to hear a bad word to him? Should he stay silent? But what if His Excellency thinks he doesn't care for him? Raiden spent his childhood running after livestock and plowing fields, and after he discovered his talent, he was thrown into academies and wars. He does not understand these social situations. Finally, after many hours, Raiden gathered some courage and approached Robin after taking a deep breath. Your Excellency, I know you feel sorry for the way things turned out, but I ask you to try to regain your clarity of mind. Everyone is counting on you. Then he let out a long exhale. This sentence was the most neutral thing he had thought of. Robin remained silent for a while, and even Raiden worried a little that his intervention was inappropriate. But he finally opened his mouth and spoke in a coherent tone. I don't feel sorry. Jabba has his path and I have mine. Having him by my side for a while was good for both of us. But in the end, each of us has his own story. I wish him success in whatever he seeks. But what if that he seeks conflict with your grand plan? Raiden was happy that His Excellency answered him and then asked, but he quickly regretted his question. Isn't this question as if it were rubbing salt in the wound? Jabba is trying to save what can be saved from his planet, and this does not conflict with my position on the planet Nahari. If he succeeds, congratulations to him, and if he does not succeed, then it has nothing to do with me. Robin did not get angry as he expected. Even a slight smile appeared on his face and he spoke firmly, which comforted Raiden's heart a little, but he held his breath when he heard him continue. But if Jabba actually tries to stand in my way in any shape or form, I will crush him. Raiden went silent again. He knew at this moment that he did not have to console His Excellency from the beginning. This strong personality does not need comfort from anyone. Rather, he needs a goal. As long as his goal is in his sights, nothing else matters. Silence remained the title of the situation until a shadow quickly approached. Raiden took a step forward and took an alert position until the features of the shadow's owner began to become clear. Long red hair dances in the air. Thick horns emerge from above her pointed ears. Her height exceeds 2 meters, and she wears revealing clothes that expose her mature body. There was no one here with these specifications other than Orphan Blood Planet Martial Empress Flora. But even after Raiden was sure of her identity, he continued to assume his alert posture. It was clear that he did not trust her completely, but she did not care and passed directly past him until she stood in front of Robin. Swoosh. I got word that you requested my presence. What's wrong? You will go back to where you came from. Robin replied with a cold expression without looking at her. There are still 4 months left until the end of the 5 years term. Are you sure you need to send me back now? I can handle staying here a little longer. Flora smiled charmingly. No need. I remembered you today by chance. I may not remember you again for a few years. It is better for you to go back now and fulfill my promise early before some human rat says that Emperor Robin broke his promise. Robin waved. Oh, I don't believe you. Who could forget all this? Hee hee. Flora giggled and gently pulled her hand from her chest to her thigh, drawing Raiden's eyes towards her body. But this trick did not work on Robin, who was still looking toward the horizon. So her facial expression turned serious. Can't you just tell your generals to let me go after 4 months? Spending time with Sister Victoria isn't so bad. I am not surprised that you have made Victoria a friend. As they say, birds of a feather flock together, but a half-smile finally appeared on Robin's face. Do I imagine things? Or do you really would rather stay here than go to your lover's side? Flora waved both hands. Aru will not lose anything if he waits for me for another 4 months. But the important thing here is that you keep your promise in front of people. Otherwise they will say that you are lenient. Robin finally looked into her eyes before bursting out laughing. Interesting, very interesting. A few trees, clean water, and some meat and vegetables. These things we take for granted, but to others they seem like paradise. 5 years ago, you came with me with dead eyes, and now you refuse to go back even though I made you fight on my side far away from your family. Maybe I should have expected this. How can I take someone out of heaven and throw him back into hell after he experienced both? Flora furrowed her eyebrows but did not say anything. If she denied it, he would reply that if she did not want to stay then she had to go back. And this was something she certainly did not want. And if she agreed to him, he would think that she was cheap and willing to break away from her family in exchange for a comfortable life. But what should she do? The difference between the 2 planets, Greenland and the Orphan Blood, is like clouds and mud. Who would come out of prison and say to themselves, I must go back again because I missed my cellmate. A person might go to visit his old cellmates once a week, for example, and stay for a couple of hours with him, but he would definitely not prefer to return to prison permanently. As for Raiden on the side, he let out a long sigh. He didn't care about the charming lizard girl, but seeing His Excellency laughing again was a source of relief. Robin went back to looking at the horizon with a slight smile. To be honest, I was planning to influence you by showing off my armies, techniques, treasures, and the different planets under my control. I did not expect that some food and a breath of fresh air would do the trick. But the important thing is that we reached the desired result. Influence me to do what exactly? If you want me to stab my family in the back, then you are dreaming. Flora shouted, but she maintained a tone of respect. She really wanted to stick to staying here for as long as she could, but she definitely would not betray Aru or betray her tribe and her people for it. Stabbing them in the back. Robin smiled. Sorry, but there's no need for that. One of the terms of the 5-year truce was to hand over the bodies of the sacrificed law users. Are we talking about approximately 3 to 4 million law user corpses? The demon emperor's numbers must have at the very least doubled by now, and are on their way to multiply more and more. No, this is not possible. The corpses of the people who were sacrificed are devoid of any energy levels. They have become like the corpses of mortals who have never cultivated in their lives. Everyone sadly agreed to this condition because it would fill the stomachs of the demons with already dead people and would make them hunt less of our people for several years, and also because we know the demons will not benefit much from their corpses. Flora shook her head in disbelief. Hee, that's what you guys think, and that's also why I asked you, and I'm sure you'll agree. The demons don't care about natural energy, their bodies simply reject it. They use something I call blood energy, and what they're after is the blood and flesh of the law users themselves. And so, the demons can now rely on beasts and mortals for their daily food, and when they are ready to level up, they would eat a corpse or two of the law users you provided for them on a silver platter. Isn't that great? Robin laughed and then looked into her eyes. Your great sacrifices and noble decisions truly deserve respect. But you simply gave the demons a feast of law users that would not end for decades, and you gave me a large army that I had never dreamed of having this fast. Thank you. No, this is not possible. Flora took a few steps back. Just because she found it to be more comfortable here does not mean that she now hates her planet or is thinking about giving up the fight for it. In the end, it is still her home even if it is hell. In fact, until this moment, she was thinking about enjoying Greenland for as long as possible before returning and continuing the fight for her home to the end. But according to Robin's words, there is no longer a need to fight. Believe it or not, this is your problem. I think you will see for yourself when the 5-year deadline arrives. Robin shrugged his shoulders indifferently, and Flora felt her heart drop to her feet as her eyes opened to the last of them. She believed. After everything she had seen here, she knew that Robin had no reason to lie. In addition to the demons, whose numbers had certainly increased, even if only slightly. But assuming that they had not increased in number at all, what about the warlords who had not appeared on the orphan blood planet until today? She fought Julian 3 years ago, and he severely beat her until her face became as flat on the ground. She can already imagine the scene of the decisive battle that Aru is preparing for when the deadline expires. She can imagine hundreds of demons emperors emerging from that damn city, eating her lover and her family. Robin's smile increased when he heard Flora's terrified scream. Now that's better. Why are you telling me this now? Flora hugged herself and looked at the ground, the feeling of helplessness and waiting for the inevitable weighing heavily on her. Because there is good news. Robin clapped with a big smile. The corpses of the law users have provided food for the demon's army for a long time, while the limited hunting that we agreed upon will provide food for their families and young ones, and this means. You mean there is no longer any need to continue the war? Flora finally raised her face and looked at Robin with some hope. But there are millions of demons. Will the limited hunting we agreed on secure their food? How long will they adhere to the agreement before they start another war of extermination? Demons love the meat of intelligent beings, and their strength increases by eating it, but they can live on eating beast meat without problems, and I can easily provide their daily food of beast meat from 4 different planets. So there is no need to worry about their normal rations, and the limited daily hunting will be more than enough to strengthen a new generation of the army. Robin shrugged his shoulders and then went back to looking into her eyes. My point is, killing around 90 emperors seems a bit too lavish to me. Especially emperors of different races who each have their own unique qualities. It was no coincidence that you were able to keep up with the demon emperors all these years. So if there is no other solution, I don't want to choose to eliminate you. And I certainly don't want to annihilate the peoples of planet Orphan Blood, whose numbers are estimated at about 10 billion in exchange for one big lunch party. And what is the solution from your point of view? Flora furrowed her eyebrows slightly. If you want peace, you can simply take the corpses and withdraw from our world. But if you want our loyalty, don't you see that your actions have crossed the line of reconciliation? There are a number of emperors who have literally sacrificed their entire clans because of you. Because of me. Let's be rational here. You see me as an ambitious person and perhaps an opportunist, right? If I were given the choice of death or of sacrificing my children, I would certainly choose death. And you are not different either. I did not see inside your body any fragment of laws that belong to the path of fire. That means you have not touched your kind or even the races close to them, so whoever sacrificed his clan did so in order to gain power and not because of me, or do you think I am wrong? They just used me as an excuse. Robin laughed and shook his head. The harsh environment of your planet, your familiarity with killing scenes, and the feeling of loss of a loved one have made most of you, if not all of you, think about how to gain strength and only depend on yourselves like beasts. So in my opinion, managing things between us may be difficult, but it is not impossible, especially if I gave you more than you can dream of. Flora looked to the side with furrowed eyebrows, thinking about what she had heard. As for the solutions, they are actually quite simple. Robin returned to looking at her seriously. As for your emperors, I will give security to whoever works for me. It is not required that he swear loyalty or anything like that, but if I need you in a war, I must see you by my side as mercenaries. I will also apply the point system to you. Using the points, you can take Emperor Realm techniques to complete your breakthrough to the higher levels without sacrificing anyone else. You can learn to draw runes and craft divine weapons, and most importantly, you can exchange the points for vacations on one of the planets under my control. Flora's heart beat hard at the last part. Robin smiled when he noticed the effect this part had on her and continued, you have fought on my side for 3 years now and you see for yourself how organized my army is and the kind of equipment they get. Any day on the front here is 100 times better than the best days on your home planet, so by being my mercenaries you will not lose anything, but will only gain. Of course, this is besides the fact that your emperors will have complete immunity from me even if any of the demons touch them. That is, you will enjoy peace in your homeland and benefits outside it. Are there better conditions? And of course, whoever swears complete loyalty to me will be allowed to come and go from any planet I own whenever he wishes and without time limits. You have spent a few years here and know about the oath tablets, right? It is more simple and decisive in this way if you take my opinion. And what about the rest of the people of the orphan blood world? Will you grant them protection as well if we accept your terms? Flora swallowed and asked with difficulty. Of course not. Where will I find another perfect farm like you? Robin laughed out loud. As I told you 5 years ago, you can consider the Demon City as another tribe whose young go out to hunt and fight with the rest of the tribes, to kill and be killed. Let's be realistic here. Your planet is dominated by the minor heavenly law of bloodthirst, the major heavenly law of chaos, and other terrible laws that make peace impossible. Even if I unite you and give you peace, a year will not pass before an internal war breaks out, so why should I fight nature? Let them eat each other as they always did. There are more than 10 races that have been exterminated in the war so far, right? Consider the demon race a new one and deal with them on this basis, and I will promise you that no large armies will emerge from the city or a large-scale invasion will take place unless your people start first. Your words are reasonable, but these matters are not solved with reason most of the time. Flora squeezed her hand tightly and spoke with shaking eyes. Even if I am convinced by your offer, that does not mean that the others will listen to me. Robin smiled big and pointed at the human emperors sitting nearby. That's why I requested your presence today as soon as possible. I have something that will help convince you a little bit faster. They will help convince us. Flora pointed towards the sitting martial emperors. What are they even doing? Robin smiled. You'll know in a little while. I feel like Alexander is about to finish. Then he turned back to look at her again. By the way, how is the war in Greenland going now? Shouldn't you ask one of your followers? Flora looked at him sideways. I want to hear it from your mouth. Robin shrugged. Flora furrowed her eyebrows and returned to focusing on Alexander to try to deduce something. But she did not dare to leave Robin waiting and replied, there is not much to say in truth. Your human army alone is enough to control this weak world. Even leaving aside your army coming from Jura's world, only your army of the local tribes has become strong enough to defend your current territories and even expand them themselves. Robin laughed. Well, Greenland is not that weak. On the contrary, Greenland was originally stronger than Orphan Blood Planet, but they don't have your cruel sacrifices technique. Nevertheless, I want a somewhat detailed report. How do you see the army, and how far have we reached? Flora sent a quick angry look towards Robin before returning to focus on Alexander. What do you want me to say? The warlords are the main focus in most fights. Although they still cannot kill the original warlords, They are enough to stop them whenever they appear. As for your martial emperors, I don't mean any offense, but they are useless. They are just sages with a bit of a long breath. But in the end, they are just humans, so it is expected. The good thing is that they are numerous enough. Their current number is approximately 170. And there is also Alexander and Jabba who have reached level 42, so their presence in battles makes a difference, even if a little bit. And the presence of the warlords with them is enough to remove any difficulties they face and reduce the time it takes to control the world. Then she continued about the results after the killing of Labakan and forcing Sanaa West to recite an oath of loyalty to you, and after 6 local tribes were subjugated, a large number of them were killed and the rest were forced to integrate into your affiliated tribes. The war is currently based on 2 main fronts, which are Tree Father Florus and Tree Father Mosley, and on 4 other side fronts belong to local tribes, and more than half of their lands have already been penetrated by your forces. Headquarters information says that the strongest Tree Father, Tavina, is forcing the remaining local tribes to leave their ancient lands and go live next to his trunk. He also pushed the rest of the Tree Fathers to send a large part of their armies towards his lands as well. Everyone says that the decisive battle will be there and that he is planning something big. But if you want my opinion, it is an empty resistance. Within 2 or 3 years, the rest of the Tree Fathers and the local tribes will be subdued or killed. Also, that foolish Tree Father does not know about your demon army. If you withdraw 10 or 20 demon emperors and place them here, you will end the war here no matter what tricks they play. We have taken out another 2 Tree Fathers. I bet the refinement percentage available has gone up a lot now. Robin rubbed his chin, smiling. He had promised Evergreen to finish refining her completely before the Nahari invasion began, but he spent the last 5 years trying to solve the problem of the human martial emperors. In the remaining 5 years, he must make it up for her. Refinement. Flora turned her face to face him, the word refinement seeming to refer to something big that could not be ignored. Oh, no need to worry about it. Robin waved, then seemed to sense something and pointed at Alexander. Here we go. Alexander opened his eyes and slowly stood up, and as soon as he stood up, the strong mountain winds stopped blowing. Alexander took a few steps towards Robin and then Pierre got down on one knee forcefully. Thank you, Your Excellency. I bear witness that you have fulfilled your promise. A big smile appeared on Robin's face and he nodded. But Flora was terrified and started asking, what is happening here? He promised you what? What happened to the wind suddenly? But inside herself, she was hoping that she would not hear an answer, as she was certain that the answer would not please her. Haha, Alexander, why don't you show Miss Flora a practical application? Robin laughed loudly and pointed towards the cliff behind him. Yes. Alexander stood and bowed once again before making his way towards the cliff, then raised both his hands before bringing them down quickly like an axe. What the? Flora took a few steps towards the cliff with a shocked expression on her face. Alexander's 2 blows formed 2 wind blades that split the ground into 2 parallel lines hundreds of meters long, and as for the depth, the 2 slits began to spew out lava. Is this the 4th stage of the major heavenly law of wind? Flora finally understood something and stared at Alexander. Whistling sound. Congratulations, Governor Alexander. Congratulations. Haha. Raiden came from behind him, clapping and patting Alexander on the back. As for Robin, he stared into Flora's eyes. A moment ago, you said that my emperors are useless. Flora couldn't find anything to say. Robin's eyes were full of sarcasm and arrogance. What was she supposed to respond with? But what is there to say? No wonder he said that what she would see would help convince her and the rest of the orphan blood emperors. There were currently 170 human martial emperors, and after what she had seen today, all of them could be using the 4th stage of the laws. They had become true emperors. Even by taking the demons out of the equation, Robin could still eliminate all of the orphan blood planet emperors with his human army alone. Alexander, I want you to put on your full golden armor and accompany Miss Flora to her home and stay with her until you personally hand her over to her lover. Oh, Raiden, go with them as well. I think you and Aru will get along just fine. Robin started the order and turned back to look towards the horizon. Yes. The 2 of them bowed and began to put on the special golden armor where they stood. Flora looked at the ground for a long time, still feeling lost. These king things cannot be solved by logic and intimidation. The number of people who will listen to the voice of reason will be small. Then be it, I extended my hand with peace. Whether you hold it or not is up to you. Robin shrugged his shoulders. Even if one emperor agrees, tell him that I am ready to receive him to work as a mercenary here on the farm planet. You are also welcome back to us after you deliver the message. Then he turned his face only to look into her eyes. I want you to tell them something else. I don't want anyone to say that I am a dictator or something like that. Tell them that I am giving you 5 more years of peace so that you can use to think about the offer and come to visit the farm planet. After the additional 5 years are up, there will be no more mercy. Whoever agrees to the conditions and works as a mercenary when asked will live, and whoever refuses to become food for the demons, the matter will be that simple. Was it clear enough? Clear, thank you. Flora clenched her hand tightly and looked at the ground. Miss Flora, come with us this way. Alexander's voice was heard at this moment, and the current appearance of him and Raiden was breathtaking. Even Robin raised his eyebrows slightly. The golden armor of the martial emperors had a distinctive design from that of the army. Although the standard army armor has also changed, there has been a recent change in the design of the armor, making it more solid, flexible, and even more eye-catching, and the old armor and weapons full of battle marks were transported to an unknown place. The standard army armor is still dominated by the golden color, and they are all similar. As for the armor of martial emperors, it is designed by hand for each emperor. For example, Raiden's armor contains materials to withstand the 4th stage of the major heavenly law of lightning, and its design helps him cut through the air in front of him more easily to maintain his tremendous speed, and so on. But the new armor of Alexander and Raiden have one new thing in common. They both contain black pieces integrated into them. Areas such as in front of the heart, the private parts, and the spine are all made of black metal. But the armor designers carefully combined the 2 colors, making it even more breathtaking. It was the strongest metal currently available to the Empire, Urusilium. We have a way to use Urusilium metal now. I see the research and development team is not joking around. Robin was clearly happy. By the way, Flora, take a space ring with you and fill it with everything you see in front of you before you return, whether meat, vegetables, or even talismans and weapons. Of course, you will only take samples. Maybe it helps a little. Yes. Flora nodded one last time and then flew away with lost eyes, followed by Raiden and Alexander. We thank your excellency and bear witness that you have fulfilled your promise. A large number of martial emperors knelt on one knee and shouted at the same time, their earth-shattering voice frightening all the living on the mountain. Get up. Robin smiled proudly. If you want to thank me, work hard for the Empire. The emperors stood with resolute looks on their faces. Robin didn't have to mention such a thing. Even putting aside that the true beginning Empire represented their world, they had tasted more than once the sweetness of serving Robin. Do you feel the changes in your bodies? Good, huh? Robin laughed. You now have the same strength as demi-humans without having to have horns coming out of your heads or having tails stuck into your buttocks. Robin waited several seconds until the emperors in front of him finished laughing, then he added, but I am afraid that this power is temporary. If you use the 4th stage of the laws lightly, you may remain in this state for an entire day, but if it is an intense fight, it will not last more than a few hours, so beware. Before he passed his eyes over them, and that is why I warn you, this must remain a secret among the martial emperors of the true beginning empire. If it leaks to the enemies, you will die a horrific death. And of course, remember that before any major fight, you must isolate yourself and follow the same steps that you did now. Be careful not to move into a hostile area without first achieving your optimal state. Otherwise, you will offer your heads on silver platters to your enemies. I have ordered a production line to be allocated to make these drugs. They do not know what they are used for, but they know that they are important enough. Oversee their work and make sure a number of these vials are always with you. Unfortunately, you are still lions made of paper, but you must maintain this appearance until I find a radical solution to the problem. Understood. Understood, Your Excellency. The martial emperors responded in one breath. Good. Robin smiled. You can go back to what you were doing. The emperors all bowed again and then began to fly away, except for Emily, who remained behind. Is there a problem? Robin furrowed his eyebrows. Your Excellency, I know it is not my place, but may I ask what you intend to do now? Emily raised her glasses and asked hesitantly. I'll go back to my palace, of course. A certain someone must have given up on me by now. Robin chuckled as he pictured Evergreen's anger. Is something wrong? Your Excellency, perhaps you should take some time to visit the Sky Opening Tower. Her Highness has been working on something impressive lately. Zara works with the R&D team. Robin furrowed his eyebrows slightly. All right, let's go. Father. A girl with short blonde hair ran towards Robin. I couldn't believe it when Sister Emily told me that you had come out of seclusion and that you were even coming to visit me. All right, all right. The strong embrace made a mark on Robin's bones. It seems that it came late, but congratulations on breaking through to the Martial Emperor's realm. Oh, sorry, Zara laughed sheepishly. The rest of my brothers have broken through to the Emperor's realm as well, and Caesar is even approaching level 42 already. I still can't believe you're here. Do you intend to spend some time with me this time? Actually, I can't believe I came either. Evergreen is really fuming right now. Robin patted Zara on the head gently. Unfortunately, I can't stay for long. I need to return to my seclusion immediately. Is there something I should see first? Well, come with me, there is something that might make you a little pleased, Zara grabbed her father's arm with both hands and pulled him into the tower excitedly. As soon as she took a few steps inside the tower, her facial features changed slightly and she shouted in a stern voice that resonated throughout the tower, Array Development Group, prepare to try out the field hospital in front of His Majesty the Emperor. You have 5 minutes. Yes. Responses came from all directions immediately. Even researchers who had nothing to do with that group dropped what they had in hand and quickly headed toward the experiment hall. Array Development Group. Robin furrowed his eyebrows slightly and looked at Zara apprehensively. Hey, don't ask, you'll see for yourself in a little while, Zara said and pulled her father towards one of the great halls in the tower. It wasn't long before the hall was filled to the brim with researchers, and even a number of martial emperors and high-ranking officials came when they heard that a large experiment would now be held. I want you to tell me your honest opinion. Okay. After Zara saw the entire Array Development Group, she sent one last glance towards her father who nodded in return, then walked confidently towards the middle of the hall, everyone in their place. Yes. The Array Development Group, consisting of approximately 20 individuals, dispersed and stood in a circle with a diameter of 50 meters. Then each of them took out a banner and planted it on the ground in front of him. Robin furrowed his eyebrows again when he saw the banners. The lower pole of each one was made of strong metal, while the upper part of the banner was made of beast hides, with different runes drawn on each banner, runes from the major heavenly law of life, and under each banner an energy pearl was placed. After placing the last pearl in its place, the runes on the banners began to light up in green, and a huge pattern appeared on the area between the flags. Then it began to rise until a large dome appeared that covered the 50-meter diameter. Robin took a step forward and activated his golden eyes. And not only him, but everyone in attendance opened their eyes to the end to try to understand what was happening now. I present to you the field hospital. Zara opened her arms wide and spoke confidently. This array was formed from the patterns used by life law users to treat wounds and replenish energy in the bodies of tired fighters. As long as this field hospital is set up on the battlefield and as long as there are enough energy pearls, we will not have to worry about battle injuries. All we will have to do is bring the injured person within the boundaries of the field hospital and treatment will begin automatically. Also, we can dismantle it and move it to any place we want on the battlefield. Then she looked at her father with joy. This field hospital will permanently eliminate the problem of the shortage of life law users. It will free life law users from the role of healer and make them able to participate in battles. It will also save the lives of a huge number of soldiers. Of course, this would not have been possible if it weren't for the law discs provided by my father, His Majesty the Emperor, so please give him a big applause. All the attendees, including martial emperors, officials, and even the researchers seemed as if someone had hit them on the head at this moment, just looked towards the field hospital with open mouths and applauded unconsciously, trying to comprehend the results of this hospital in a real war. They applauded only because they heard a voice telling them to applaud. Robin wasn't as absent-minded as they were, but the shock on his face was even greater. He raised both his hands, placed them on the back of his head, and muttered slowly, Zara, whose idea was this? Did you like the field hospital? Using the banners to create an instant array was my idea, but everyone in the array group worked hard to come up with this final result. Zara declared with joy and pride before moving quickly to stand towards her father again and hold his arm. Robin remained speechless for a few seconds as he looked into his daughter's eyes. It was you. You are the one who came up with the idea for a way to create an instant portable array. That. Zara hit her foot on the ground. Have you forgotten that I am the first rune master after you? I learned how to work on runes from you personally, and I was also the first teacher in Jura City Rune Academy. If I can't do something to help, then won't teaching me to be a waste? Robin continued to look at her in disbelief. Girl, do you even realize what you have created? Naturally. Zara responded quickly and excitedly, but after looking at the faces of the audience for a long time, she continued hesitantly. I think, Sai, do you know how many times it crossed my mind to devote some time to researching and developing arrays? Because I knew how powerful arrays could be, I wanted a way to make them easy to build and quick to act, but I never found the time. I also did not ask the R&D team to look into the matter because I know how difficult it is. Robin took a few steps forward, his eyes not moving away from the field hospital for a moment. Mobile instant arrays. You have created something that will change the course of future wars. No, it will change the shape of the entire empire. Really? Zara tilted her head to the side. Although she was happy with her father's reaction, she still couldn't see what he was seeing. Your Highness, you are looking at the matter from the wrong point of view. You see it as a field hospital, but His Excellency sees it as the seed of a path that will branch into much more. Old Gu couldn't restrain himself and spoke up. This hospital does not rely on the power level of the users or even the law they cultivate. Rather, it only relies on the runes it carries and the energy pearls as a source of power. This means that if we replace these life runes with fire runes, we can instantly create an array that shoots fireballs on enemies in a specific area to reduce the pressure on our fighters, or another array that constantly sends icy winds to prevent enemies from crossing a certain line. These are just examples, but their applications in battles are countless. We can take the Sky Shield array that His Excellency designed, miniaturize it, and paint a miniature version of it on the banners, so our field research teams will have a safe haven if beasts attack them. A researcher from the Ink development team shouted excitedly. A former officer took out a blue tablet from his pocket. Defense arrays. I now came up with an idea for a defensive array that uses solid ice walls. As long as we have the law tablets, we have an infinite number of ideas. We can create an array that intertwines the path of the wind with the path of the soul, so that the array creates an absolute death ground for whoever enters it. Zara looked around with raised eyebrows and an open mouth. She definitely did not think about the matter from this perspective. From her point of view, she was looking for a way to contribute to reducing deaths and lightening the burden on the life forces, because she had greatly experienced the extent of the difficulties they faced. For this reason, she tried several groups until they settled in with the arrays group and decided to achieve a good result with them, but within 1 minute she heard more than 20 purely military applications of her idea. As for the arrays group, they were happily high-fiving each other. From the reactions, it was clear that their work would bring them many benefits and that the arrays group would witness a great transformation. Old Gu took a few steps to stand next to Robin and crossed his arms in front of his chest. Unfortunately, there are some obvious problems with the instant array. For example, the banners have to be placed by hand, and there are more than 25 banners in this small array. Who has the time to plant these banners properly and in perfect circular shape during battle? Also, the banners themselves, although they are made of strong metal, are still vulnerable to destruction if they are targeted. This array is actually useful for a hospital in the backlines, but not for use in attack and defense. Oh, the rest of the scholars and guests in the hall looked at each other with some disappointment. Chief Researcher Gu, please don't forget that this is still the first model. One of the researchers in the array group quickly reacted, afraid that Old Gu's words would kill their momentum. A researcher from the information gathering team shook his head and sighed. Even after mentioning the problems with the array, I still find the array to be flawless and not capable of further development. It is simply perfect. The metal used to make the banners is even stronger than the Valheim used in golden armor. However, if the banner moves a little, the array will be ruined, and it will certainly move if attacked in the battle. And even if we find a way to install the banner poles, what about the part made with beast hides? Couldn't it be easily burned or damaged? Unfortunately, there is nothing better that we could draw on. Frankly, I don't think there is a way to improve it. If a method exists, it will take us more than 10 years to discover it and implement it. The members of the array group looked down and bit their lips. They had actually worked day and night for 3 years to achieve this result and knew how difficult it would be to develop further. As for Zara, she shrugged her shoulders, not caring about the negative comments. As long as the array was good for what it was designed for, everything would be fine. Robin shook his head. All of you. Aren't you supposed to be in the research and development department? I can't believe you still haven't seen the most important path this idea can be applied to yet. Something that, if implemented, not only will the death toll among the elite decrease, but we will control entire worlds in days. Then a big smile appeared on his face. As for the development issue, it is a trivial issue that can be solved easily. Old Gu looked around for a few seconds to see if anyone understood what Robin was talking about, but silence dominated the hall. Old Gu sighed in disappointment and bowed slightly. We apologize for not being able to see. Please, Your Excellency, enlighten us. Robin smiled, still looking at the field hospital. Tell me, what is the biggest problem with this design? Old Gu took a long look towards the field hospital before answering. In short, he has 2 big problems. The first is that it takes a large number of people to activate the array, which means it is impractical in high-end battles. The second is that the array will disappear if a single banner moves just a little bit, and as long as the banners are fixed in the ground like a normal banner, this will inevitably happen. You are right. Robin turned and pointed towards Old Gu. So what if one person could control all the banners, and those banners were to be locked with a power comparable to the array user himself? Then it will be a truly lethal weapon capable of changing the course of high-end battles. The old man shouted with enthusiasm evident in his wrinkled eyes. But how could this happen? There is no energy technique that allows us to control the banners and protect them from a distance. I do not think that something like this is possible. Of course it is possible. Soul Force exists. Robin laughed and turned back to look towards the field hospital. I spread the soul strengthening technique among all of you. Anyone in the Saint Realm must be strong enough to control at least 15 banners, and as long as the banners are infused with spirit force, they will remain strong and stable until the soul force runs out, or someone with greater soul force comes and tries to interfere in controlling it. Of course, we can increase protection and place soul seals on the banners themselves so that only their owner can use them. This Old Man Gu and the rest of the researchers and guests looked back at the banners for a long time, thinking of all possible ways to develop this new path. But Zara shook her head. I have already thought about it, Dad. But it is an impractical solution when applied. Material objects have a high resistance to the soul force. For example, material objects can be sensed or moved from their place if the soul is strong enough, but controlling them for a long time. I've tried, it's not possible. You have a mistake here, my dear. But it is a mistake of lack of experience, not intelligence. Robin laughed and turned to Zara. You made the banners, then you tried to control them with your soul, and from there you decided that it was difficult. You should have planned for this purpose first and then made the banners. Zara tilted her head to the side slightly. Would that have made a difference? All metals have high resistance against soul force and even natural energy and cannot be kept running through them for a long time. At this point, she furrowed her eyebrows slightly. Except for, say it. Robin smiled. He knew that Zara finally got it. Uracilium. Zara shouted. The properties of that stubborn metal were known to everyone. It was very hard and could not be shaped into weapons or armor, but it was also the only known metal that had no resistance to any kind of energy, and in this way they could also draw patterns on the body of the banner itself and not on the beast hides that can be easily damaged. Robin snapped his finger. Exactly. Before I came here, I saw the Emperor's new armor, with parts of Uracilium blending in well with the armor. Why didn't you think of making banners out of this metal? Allow me to answer this, Your Excellency. A person from the Armor Development Research Team bowed. There has actually been a breakthrough in the field of metal smelting since Your Excellency handed over the law discs, but currently we can barely heat a small piece of Uracilium enough to hammer it a little. We still cannot form a piece larger than a fist yet. We believe that it will take at least 8 years to make any reasonable progress. 1 year. Robin raised his index finger. I will give all the researchers here 1 year to make banners from Uracilium. The warehouses will be opened for you to take whatever you want to fund your research, understood? Yes. The specialized teams that Robin talked about, such as the Array Research Group, the Armor Development Research Group, the Flame Path Research Group, and several other groups, shouted in one breath. More funding has been opened up for them, so how could they not be happy? You did well. As for Robin, he took a few steps towards Zara and patted her hair. It's good that I helped. Zara laughed sweetly. My dear, you have not only helped save many lives, but your innovation will be a major key in the quiver of the Empire of True beginning in all its future battles. But the question now is, what do you plan to do from now on? Do you want to stay in the Sky Opening Tower and manage the Research and Development Department with Old Goo? Or have you had enough and want to return to run the Treasury? Or perhaps you want to take an open vacation to find your life partner? Robin laughed when he got to the last bit, but he wasn't entirely joking. Although Zara behaves like a little girl in front of him, she is already more than 70 years old. In addition to her stunning beauty, Zara is currently an experienced general, an expert rune master, and undoubtedly one of the power centers of the Empire. Of course, without mentioning that she is a martial emperor as well. She is undoubtedly the dream girl of many, and despite all of that, Robin had never heard of anyone succeeding in getting her to complete a lengthy conversation with him. Zara pecked her lips a few times. Honestly, I felt like I had a purpose while I was here. If you don't mind, I'd rather stay in the tower. Haha, that's perfect. How could I mind? I'll find someone else for the Treasury, don't worry about it. I have a much more important mission for you while you're here. Robin laughed loudly after Jabba left. It would be good for Zara to take over here. That won't be too hard for an experienced general like here. Really? What is it? Zara looked up with shining eyes. Robin smiled, and then a black disc appeared on his palm. This is the major heavenly law of space from the first stage to the third, and I will bring you the fourth as soon as I finish it. I want you to use the major heavenly law of space and integrate it into the instant array system. If you can't make a strong, complete space portal, then at least make an instant array capable of transporting objects and individuals within the borders of the same planet. This is. Zara opened her eyes to the last of them, and even her hands were shaking as she received the disc. She knew what the major heavenly law of space represented. Robin laughed loudly when he saw her reaction before his laugh quickly turned serious. After you finish the required array, you can use the space disc to do anything you want, but beware of letting anyone see the contents of this disc other than you. After this small conversation, Robin returned to present some ideas about the new instant array system for another 2 hours. And not only he but all the other research groups found applications for their research that could be applied to this instant array system, which prolonged the discussion even more. When Robin was reassured that everything was moving in the right direction and was finally about to tell them that he was preparing to enter another long retreat, a visitor came to him. A wind user of those who went with Peon to planet Nahari. Barely taking a few steps into the tower with a body full of wounds, he mustered all his strength to utter these words. Your Excellency, we request permission to start an all-out war. Then he fell on his face and fainted. A few days later, the northern region of planet Nahari, in one of the alleys of the capital of Azul. Crack, crack. The stones in the wall began to stick out in a certain way until they finally formed Richard's face. Third brother, did you summon me? In front of the stone face, there was only one person. The scars on his face made him almost featureless. There were entire pieces of skin on his face that were missing. He also became one-eyed after an injury that blew out his left eye. There were a few fingers that looked like new without a single scratch on them, and this is strange compared to the rest of his body, and this is because he only regenerates injuries that may affect his life or combat abilities. He was Peon, the martial Emperor Peon. His Excellency responded to my request. Support is coming. He also gave the green light to start a full war on the Azul tribe if this is necessary to protect you, and he also allocated any number of wind and lightning users we need to come and help even if we do not choose to start the total war with the North. He has told the messenger in the text that I can summon the entire army of the Empire at any time I wish. Everything is up to you now. What do you intend to do? The stone face looked confused for a moment, not knowing what to say. He agreed to declare war. Didn't you tell me to invade 2 other planets and prepare for a big war in Nahari in a few years? Is he really ready to start a war in the heart of the northern region right now for me? I did not ask you to gather the army for me, my third brother. Why did you send the request anyway? I told you that I am planning something and will not leave my residence before implementing it. Please leave the city. Don't worry about me. In the worst case, I can stop the kidnappings for a while and everything will calm down again. Foolish. It was possible to stop 3 years ago, but not after you went this far. Do you think they would leave you alone if you stopped now? 3 years ago, the entire Azul tribe flipped upside down because of your killing of Shamsun, even though I warned you not to do it, and since then those who have been searching for you are martial emperors. Do you think that staying in your small palace and manipulating your surroundings from a distance will be enough to fool martial emperors who have lived for thousands of years? Do you think that even stopping completely will stop them from finding you? How long will your tricks last before they follow the incidents and reach the power source in the end? A month, maybe 2. We've been buying you time for 3 years. Peon shouted at him in a very harsh voice. It was clear that the 3 years had not gone well. Indeed, the last 3 years were as far from peaceful as possible. After the new head of the investigation team, Saladar began to follow up on the situation personally. He was beginning to tighten the screws on Richard little by little. So Peon and dozens of forces of wind and darkness decided to intervene to sabotage the investigations as much as possible. So they put fake evidence everywhere and they used the soul enslavement technique to make some giants do all the dirty work for them. But this was not enough, so they started assassinating the members of the investigation team. The investigation team faced major problems in the first year of the restructuring, to the point that the Martial Emperor Saladar himself asked for help from his brothers and the sons who reached the Martial Emperor's realm, which made the situation worse and caused the discovery and death of more than half of the wind and darkness forces in the city within a short period. And this made the situation turn for the worse at this point because of the appearance of the members of the wind and darkness teams. They are all tall humans with fragile bones, the same race as Richard. The new investigation chief, Saladar, began to closely monitor Richard and found sophisticated ways to trap the rest of the wind and darkness, forcing the rest to hide for a while and forcing Richard to calm the game for a while. However, the investigation team, consisting of a number of Azul emperors, was closing in on them every day. The situation changed again when Peon broke into the Martial Emperor's realm, followed by 2 more members of his team several months later. With 3 Martial Emperors on their side and with the help of the Divine Decree embodiment technique, Peon did not restrain himself any longer and began a counterattack. They assassinated all the original members of the investigation team. Only the Martial Emperors remained at the end of that day. Then they isolated the weakest Martial Emperor in the Azul tribe and killed him. As for Richard, he took advantage of the momentum and launched the largest kidnapping campaign, where more than 100,000 giants disappeared within a few days. This series of terrible incidents shook the entire Azul tribe and even the entire northern region. Panic struck the city and its rich residents began to flee, and even poor citizens took to the streets like madmen, demanding that the gates be opened for them. But the gate guards prevented them by force. The leader of the Azul tribe, Dewuder, went crazy as he saw his world collapsing around him. The feeling of shame that the first Martial Emperor to be killed in the northern region in hundreds of years was one of his grandchildren overwhelmed him as he ordered all the known emperors of the Azul tribe to go out and destroy the city if necessary to search for those who caused the accidents and mutilate their bodies. These orders launched a devastating campaign that caused the destruction of approximately 10% of the Azul tribe's capital, but it also caused the death of the rest of the Wind and Darkness team within the Azul tribe city. One of the emperors with Peon was also found and killed. Only Peon and another person managed to survive that campaign. There was one strange thing that happened immediately after that, which slowed down the momentum of the martial emperors of the Azul tribe, which gave Peon and his companion a chance to catch their breath, and it also allowed Richard to kidnap another 20,000 victims. The martial emperors of the Ashira tribe and the Bazuna tribe arrived as guests of the Azul tribe, and after them came more martial emperors from 5 other giants' tribes. All of them ostensibly came to talk about important business and demanded that only emperors like them come and talk to them. Or they said that they came to see the sights and demanded that one of the emperors of the Azul tribe accompany them. They all also refused to leave before meeting their demands. When they were ignored for a while, they began to cause problems and destroy a few restaurants and bars because they were venting their anger. Of course, their presence at this particular time and their ferocious behavior were evidence that they had come to fish in troubled waters after hearing about what was happening in the Azul tribe. Every northern tribe wanted a piece of whatever was going on. It is not in their interest for the kidnapping and killing operations to stop and for security to return to the Azul tribe. Even if there is apparent peace between the Azul tribe and the rest of the northern tribes, it is still a strong competing tribe, and they have recently become the richest of the northern tribes. How can they not kick them when they see them down? The leader of the tribe, Dewuder, destroyed half of his palace in a fit of anger after more than 30 martial emperors from the rest of the northern tribes met in his city. How could he not know what they were thinking? But he also could not provoke any of them, otherwise even the apparent peace would collapse. So he was forced to assign a number of emperors of the Azul tribe to accompany the visitors and see the deals they wanted so that the situation would not deteriorate. Of course, he soon discovered that they wanted to rob them blind. The thing that is worth 1,000 gold coins, they wanted to buy it with 1 coin, otherwise they would not leave. Dewuder's intense anger almost prompted him to give the order to kill all the guests, but his hiding ancestors prevented him more than once. As for Richard, he was more preoccupied with the busyness of the emperors of the Uzale tribe. He kidnapped and killed 150,000 new victims, and his circle of control expanded insanely until it covered the lands of the entire capital of the Azul tribe. Also, Pion and his companion used the soul enslavement technique on the favorite prostitute of one of the emperors of the Uzale tribe who was continuing the investigation, so they made her use a certain poison to weaken him. Then they set an elaborate ambush for him, killed him, and then hung him by the neck on one of the city gates. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. The entire army of the Azul tribe took to the streets that same night. The news of the deployment of the army of the Azul tribe fell like a thunderbolt on all the inhabitants of the northern region, whether they were giants or lower beings. Only now did they know how serious the situation was in there. The army's deployment was an event watched closely by all the other giants' tribes. And the leader of the Azul tribe, Dewuder, made sure that this deployment was a clear message to all the other greedy tribes, and indeed the message was heard loudly. The deployment was a display of excessive force that did not diminish over time, so the army was divided into 10 legions. Each of them had an emperor at their head, and this was the maximum number of emperors that the tribal leader, Dewuder, could provide without disturbing the balance with the rest of the guests. He was also proud of the organization of the army, which had never experienced war in its life. These 10 legions had tightened their control over the entrances and exits of the city and its streets within just a few hours. But that brutal display of power also carried with it shame. They were the first northern tribe to move its full army in tens of thousands of years, and against whom? A few terrorists inside their own main city. Dewuder knew the consequences of this decision, but he made it anyway. A bad reputation was better than having his capital destroyed under his watch, and he actually achieved his goal. The large spread of the army and specialized search teams made movement within the city impossible for Pion and his companion, so they were forced to leave. Richard also stopped mass kidnappings and contented himself with kidnapping one person every few hours. Even the city's residents themselves were unable to breathe out loud. Security was tightened over Richard as well. How could he not be, since he belongs to the same race as the terrorists? A number of high-ranking sages were instructed to stay with him in the same room and torture him on a daily basis to force him to speak of what he knew. They were breathing under his neck right at this moment as he was speaking with Pion. Also, one of the legions was appointed to camp permanently in the vicinity of Richard's residence. Pion and his companion had already reached safety, but Richard's situation was greatly worrying him, as he knew very well that discovering Richard's energy source was only a matter of time. That is why he sent a call for help to Robin and explained to him what was going on. When Richard felt a number of soldiers approaching, he changed the features of the place to hide the presence of Pion. Then he spoke. "There is no need to do anything, my third brother. I am still enduring this siege because I plan to do something. If I fail or they find out that I am the one who is behind all of this, I will simply get away. I have already made 13 different escape plans. I can implement any of them at any time." Pion looked into the eyes of the stone face. Listen, I know you are a genius. What you did in the Azul tribe proves that you are your father's son. But these 13 plans will not help you in your time of need when a martial emperor appears to you out of nowhere and says, "Give me your life." You wouldn't have any time to implement any plans. Even if you escaped underground, he would split the ground and take you out. You still don't understand the power of a martial emperor yet. So what do you suggest then? Richard stared at his third brother's face with half-closed eyes, clearly not convinced by what he was saying. Do you still want me to leave and go throw myself into my father's arms and maybe cry a little, and then go to live in peace and dance with the butterflies forever? No, I'm tired of trying to convince you to do so. Since the full army is under my command now, I want you to tell me one thing. What do you want? What is your goal that you want to achieve? What keeps you inside your enemy's capital until today? Peon shouted in a low voice and started waving both arms in the air. You want to know what I want? Do you think you can help me? Okay then. Richard's calm facial expressions turned in an instant to an angry expression accompanied by a touch of madness, and the green flames ignited in the stones that made up his hair. At this moment, it seemed that he was able to compete with Amon for the title of a demon. Then he spoke in a furious voice, I want the lives of all the giants of Nahari. I will not leave this cursed planet until I am sure that I have cut off all of them. This ugly city is only the beginning. Do you want to know what keeps me here? I want to meet that pig Dewooter again. I want him to summon me for one of his worthless parties or to treat one of his filthy grandchildren. If I lay my hands on him, I will take at least half of his life before he kills me. Dewooter must die at my hands. He must die at my hands. Peon felt weak in his arms hanging in the air and let them fall until they were next to his thighs again. His open mouth and unfocused eyes said a lot as well. Do not try to dissuade me from my goal. I have made up my mind and the case is decided. The flame on top of the stone face diminished until it disappeared and Richard's face became calm again. Dissuading you? No, I know I will never be able to dissuade you. A half-smile appeared on Peon's face and he shook his head weakly. The stone face furrowed his eyebrows. But he waited for Peon to finish speaking. Peon actually raised his head to look at Richard again. Those words and that look. I've seen it before. We've all seen it before when your father returned to his homeland again, accompanied by an army of demons. TSK. Richard looked to the side annoyed, as Theo had previously told him what Robin had done to planet Jura after he knew what had happened. Even in his revenge he failed. They burned the city of Jura and killed everyone in it, so why did he limit himself to killing only the stronger ones? This is where I disagree with him. If I were in his place, I would not keep anything breathing in that damn world. Peon opened his mouth to say something but quickly closed it again when he noticed the resolute expression on Richard's face. He had chosen his path and it was over, so he thought of a new approach and continued calmly. Richard, after my family was destroyed, my father and mother were killed in front of me. Then they mutilated my body when I was still alive and cutting off my arm as a form of pleasure before they kill me. But they didn't, they decided to sell me to afford a few more wine jars. I knew at that moment that I would live as the worst kind of slave throughout my life. A slave who was not even worth the food he ate. All I was thinking about was that whoever buys Zara would take me with her so that I might be able to take care of her a little until she grew up and then commit suicide under some tree. That would save everyone the trouble. At least that was until your father appeared one day and gave me and my sister a life we could never have dreamed of. Richard furrowed his eyebrows slightly. He didn't know why his third brother started talking about the past. Then Peon continued, your father gave me cultivation techniques and resources that I could never have dreamed of, and he gave my sister a high status and a comfortable life, and on top of all that, he declared that we were his adopted children so that he would raise our status even more. But I never saw him as my father. You may have noticed that even at this moment I still call him Your Excellency, and not because I am attached to my real father or anything like that, no. It's because I do not deserve to be his son. Until this moment, I am still the naked slave Peon. And these wounds I keep on my face in order to remind me of this truth every day. Please don't talk like that. You know I consider you a brother and... Richard quickly interjected. If you consider me a brother, listen to the end. Peon raised his head to look at the stony face in his eyes. Richard, I said all this because I want you to understand something. I live to serve His Excellency Robin and his descendants after him. And it is not only me who feels like that and is ready to serve you, but with this imperial decree, your father has given me the right to lead an army that can destroy the heavens and crush the lands. Do you want to kill off the Nahari giants? Fine, but you won't do it alone. Richard was silent for quite a while before he finally opened his mouth. I can do it on my own. It was clear that his tone this time was full of hesitation, in contrast to the sternness with which he spoke every time. Don't tell me you're still saying nonsense that you don't need help from your father. Peon waved angrily. The life flame technique with which you intend to take your revenge. Who invented it? We, the ones who helped you day and night and shed our blood to cover up for you, who sent us. Who gave your life itself. Richard repeated in a low voice, the stony face no longer maintaining its fixed expression. When Peon saw that his words were starting to show results, he quickly continued, Richard, you are already using what your father gave you in one way or another. What is the problem if you use one or two more items? He has allocated his entire army for you to use as you wish. See it as you are taking advantage of him and use his army he worked hard for to take your revenge. A while ago you were saying that you stayed here in order to reach the Azul tribe leader, Dewuder, and take half his life before he killed you. Why should you need to die in the first place when you have a large army to command? Come on, Richard. I know that you inherited your father's stubbornness, but you inherited his intelligence too. Follow your mind and choose wisely. The stone face disappeared into the wall for a few minutes, leaving Peon alone, before reappearing and announcing. All right then, but everything will go as I want. Excellent. A big smile spread across Peon's distorted face. Then he threw a ring that landed on a stone hand. Take this too. It will be of use to you. What is this? Richard furrowed his eyebrows slightly. The ring that Theo wanted to give you earlier and you refused, in addition to a few other good things. You will need all the help possible in the coming period. We are heading towards a massive war. Richard's facial expressions changed again. He looked as if he was struggling to make a decision. Accepting the leadership of the forces of his father was already considered a defeat in his view, but there was really no way for him to achieve his full revenge unless he had strong followers. If he continued alone, he would die sooner or later, that's for sure, and what is worse is that he will surely die before achieving his goal of killing off the Nahari giants. So this ring made him immensely confused. If he accepted it, he would indirectly accept his father again, and if he rejected it, he would appear as a hypocrite since he had agreed to accept command of the army a few moments ago. Peon's smile changed slightly as he understood what was on Richard's mind. There's no need to think too much, don't you think? In the space ring you will find the foundation modification technique and with it a perfect life fire law technique up to the 4th stage. This means that you can modify the foundations you have achieved yourself and continue until you become a martial emperor. The stone face looked away. My 38 foundations are good enough. Secondly, the Emperor's realm seems to be overrated. Humans can't benefit from it anyway. Oh really? You will also find a vial and a technique called superior absorption that His Excellency created so that you can use the 4th stage. Very soon your control over the city will multiply many times, and the number of people whose life force you can absorb will also double. Peon laughed. He invented a solution to this problem. Richard quickly shouted, how could he not know the problem of the martial emperor realm? Peon and 2 others were emperors but couldn't use the 4th stage, which put them in a very bad position. Peon shrugged as if it was a matter of fact. Didn't I tell you 2 years ago that it was a matter of time? When your father puts his head into something, it is done. You should be proud that you are a descendant of that great man. Richard did not answer again, but the stone hand that was holding the ring withdrew with it until it disappeared into the ground. Then he returned to look into Peon's eyes. So, how do we take advantage of these incoming forces? At the same time, within the Nahari Union sect, I was told that it was the sect master's disciple, Jabba, who called us to the meeting. Who is that human over there? One of the elders sitting around a large oval table tilted himself slightly and asked the elder next to him after pointing towards a young human man with long braids sitting on the main seat. Check his features carefully, man. Damn, is that Jabba? What happened to him? I don't know either, but nothing is too difficult for the sect master. Maybe he wanted his student to be a human like him. Small discussions like this were filling the hall. Since Jabba arrived in the City of Hope a few days ago and sent a summons to all the elders to come to the City of Hope immediately, and a great storm ravaged the entire eastern region. Has what everyone hoped for finally happened? Did the sect master take pity on them and decide to return? After several more minutes, Jabba opened his eyes and stood up. According to my calculations, all the elders should have arrived by now. Anyone who isn't here, I will consider him not wanting to come. We can begin now. Please come in, Mr. Jabba, we're all listening. Orzon spoke eagerly. Yes, we are in dire need of the sect leader's wisdom. The situation has gone from bad to worse in the last few years, and we have entered into a direct war against the Giants clans again, although the number of the law users within the sect increases every day until it has reached roughly 20 million strong, but we still cannot achieve victory. After the sect master's techniques and weapons spread among the Nahari Giants clans, the power balance was equaled. We cannot subjugate them in a short time, and we cannot ignore them either because they are currently trying to invade the Desert of Death. Yes, those motherfuckers act like they don't know about the upcoming invasion. We have got less than 5 years left for the hell of it. In the last message that came from the Lightning Giants tribe, they said that we should surrender quickly so that we can begin to prepare together for the invasion. Otherwise, they will hold us responsible if the invasion comes and we are not prepared. What kind of sick joke is this? Yes, those filthy giants do not know their worth. Sorry, Sect Master's disciple, you are no longer a giant anyway. The Sect Master must give us orders and we will begin the attack immediately to annihilate them all. A pained, sarcastic smile appeared on Jabba's face. His Excellency will not give you orders for anything. What do you mean, Sect Master's disciple? What exactly does His Excellency want? Orzon's eyebrows moved slightly closer together. His Excellency. I will tell you what His Excellency wants. Jabba shook his head. His Excellency wants to see this planet burn with all its inhabitants. What? He wants to see us burn, what does he mean? Sect Master's disciple, please don't joke around with these kinds of things. How could the Sect Master want to see us burn? We are his followers. The sect elders took several seconds to comprehend Jabba's words, and then each of them began to show a different reaction. Some of them exploded in anger, and others thought he was joking. As for the bulk of them, they remained silent and contented themselves with furrowing their eyebrows as if they had expected these words. Jabba raised his hands to silence the audience. His Excellency allowed me to announce that he is the one who sent me in order to facilitate my mission, but I will not do it this way. This is a disaster for the planet Nahari and it must be solved by the people of the planet Nahari. Then he looked into everyone's eyes in turn before continuing. I am no longer His Excellency's disciple. I am just a citizen like you now, a citizen who is worried about his homeland and wants to protect it. Who is with me? This is bad. This is very bad. One of the elders placed his hand on his head. He did not look shocked as much as he was disappointed. Anyone who has some information about current events and some intelligence will realize that His Excellency does not want peace. He is literally selling techniques, weapons, and talismans in exchange for huge amounts of energy pearls, to the point that the official currency has become regular energy stones due to the scarcity of pearls in the markets. He is actually pushing the war forward in the 4 regions and benefiting from it. But that does not mean that he does not want to unite the planet under his banner at all. Who would not want power when it is presented to him on a silver platter? Orzon clenched his hands tightly and asked Jabba, could you please explain the Sect Master's position further? How does he currently view us? Potential allies, clients, or perhaps enemies? I don't know either. But remember what happened in your last meeting with him and you will have your answer. Jabba felt weak in his legs and sat down again. No. Orzon was the one who stood up this time with shock in his eyes. What do you mean? Is the Sect Master planning to declare war on us as well? Do not think that those merchants from his family and the marginal relationship he kept with the sect mean that the past is dead. No. His Excellency has never forgotten. The best thing we can hope for is that he will continue his support for the wars from the side and that the true beginning empire will not intervene militarily against us. If that happens, the consequences would be disastrous. Jabba shook his head and then gave a sarcastic smile. Secondly, you can stop calling him Sect Master now. This will only provoke him more. He sees you as a blot of shame in his history. What does this mean? One of the sect elders looked around and shouted, "Will that Robin still support the domestic war until the invaders come and kill us all? Or maybe he himself will attack us from that damned space portal while the invaders are here to fish in the murky waters." I suggest that... Before that elder could finish his words, a slap sent him flying, penetrating the wall and destroying it. Then he continued flying towards the horizon until his screams disappeared completely. It is not known whether he died or is still alive. No one here is allowed to belittle His Excellency. Even if he becomes an enemy who intends to destroy the entire planet with his own hands, you shall talk about him with respect in front of me and behind my back. Was that clear? Jabba's voice was heard mingling with strong killing intent. Understood, Master Jabba, understood. The rest of the sect elders quickly nodded like chickens picking grain. Not because they were convinced by what he said, but because of his aura that appeared when attacking. This was not the aura of someone at the Sage Realm. The only explanation was that he had reached the Martial Emperor realm. Gulp, everyone swallowed their saliva one by one when they remembered that they were now looking at the only person outside the northern region who had reached this legendary realm. Wait, Jabba is definitely not an exceptional genius to reach this legendary realm alone and succeeds in what millions of geniuses were unable to do before. The only explanation is that he achieved it because he is a disciple of the Sect Master. The Sect Master can make his own martial emperors now. Silence, even the sound of breathing in the hall ceased to exist when thinking about this point. Good. The killing intent coming from Jabba calmed down a little, and he walked until he reached the hole made by the elder's body and began looking at the city with his hand behind his back as his master used to. I don't want you to feel despair. There is still hope. Mr. Jabba, please tell us what you know. Orson begged quickly. As I understand from His Excellency, he is under an obligation to prevent the invaders from plundering planet Nahari, so we must focus on this point. Jabba furrowed his eyebrows slightly and spoke calmly. When His Excellency first came to us, he wanted to unify planet Nahari, provide it with techniques and power, strengthening it over the course of 50 years enough to enable us to confront the invaders comfortably. Then HW would return to his family and let us live in peace and prosperity. But you know how that went. The sect elders looked at each other. How could they not know? The damned Azul tribe destroyed everything. And because of them too. Were they wrong because they disobeyed him, heard the words of the giants, and refused to attack the north? Maybe, maybe not. The important thing is that they disobeyed him and thought that they would be better off without him, and they caused him to abandon them and the idea of unifying this planet. Then Jabba continued, now we return to His Excellency's goal, which is to stop the invaders from plundering the planet. If you were in his place and the option of unification became unavailable and you had a hidden hatred towards planet Nahari, what would you do? Abandon the mission. I would plunder the planet first. Jabba turned to face them. I too have guesses like you and do not know the truth. But I believe that His Excellency chose that instead of spending time in peace and helping each other become stronger together. He chose to make us spend our time in the war, and this will push everyone against their will to become stronger, and of course, spreading a lot of techniques and weapons will help this even more. You say? Orson raised his eyebrows. Jabba nodded. I believe His Excellency is still hoping that we will defend our planet ourselves, or at least wear down the invaders before the true beginning empire intervenes. He still sees us as the first line of defense, but he no longer cares how many of us remain alive after the war ends, or whether we succeed or fail in repelling the invaders at all. Mr. Jabba, what do you think we should do now? One of the elders asked nervously. Jabba took a few steps forward and placed both his hands on the table. His Excellency is still monitoring the situation and trying to strengthen everyone, but he will only intervene when all our defensive lines collapse and we are all dead. Then he will bring the army of the true beginning empire and crush the invaders with one blow. We must not allow this to happen. Even when His Excellency was angry with us, he provided us with weapons and techniques and allowed me to return and do whatever I wanted, so we cannot really blame him for negligence. During the next 5 years, we must exploit everything available so that we are strong enough to prevail against the invaders on our own, or at least withstand them long enough to force His Excellency to cooperate with us. This is the only way to survive. The Orphan Blood Planet under a huge tree near the Demon City wall. Look what else I brought. This is a sapling cut from a tree father from planet Greenland. I was told that it is very strong, and if we plant it here it will change the environment around it as it grows. Flora took out a small green branch with only 2 leaves on it, but the branch's strong appearance and the overwhelming life energy emanating from it forced dozens of emperors around her to move closer to her to take another look. And look at this one too. Flora put the sapling aside and took out a beast hide the size of a palm. This is called the Vitality Talisman. Once you pass energy into it and place it on your body, it will search for any injury and begin to heal it automatically. It also does not consume a lot of energy, so even if you are on the brink of death, this talisman is enough to keep you attached to life for a long time. A number of emperors raised their eyebrows slightly. And look at these are called divine weapons. Flora took out a golden chest armor and a golden sword from her ring, then activated them by passing energy through them. The chest armor shone, emitting an impenetrable aura, while the golden sword was covered in flames. Divine weapons are a large part of the human army. I think we are lucky that demons do not like to wear armor in their fights, otherwise we would have been in much more trouble. The emperors furrowed their brows and sent out their soul sense to examine the weapon more closely. Flora then put the weapon aside and took out the corpse of a beast weighing 4 tons. This is called the 4-eyed cow. Please examine its body. Its meat is red and tender, and I can't detect any toxins either. This would be a perfect meal to celebrate our victory. Haha. One of the emperors with exquisite tusks laughed. Seeing this cow made him salivate. What if I told you that this type of cow is domesticated in large numbers and that it reaches this size in just 6 months? Well, look at this now. Then Flora took out a basket full of various vegetables, then bottles of pure water, and distributed them to them, and then, a large number of emperors did not have time to think about anything but were completely fascinated by what they saw, but some of them also were not very interested. On the contrary, they thought that something strange was going on. One of them spoke and sent quick glances to the martial emperors around him. Oh, this is really nice. Whoever sees this would think that Niece Flora was on vacation and not in prison. They bought you with a bundle of vegetables and some water, daughter of the Red Flame Dragon tribe. An emperor full of pimples came forward and shouted angrily. His voice was thick like a frog. Flora stopped taking out any more of the things she had brought with her and just looked at the ground, not knowing how to say what she came to say. But one of the emperors with red hair and horns came forward angrily, and the red flames began to burn above his horns. What do you mean by this? My dear daughter endured torment in order to buy us some time, and even after she came back, she tried to show us things that we had never seen or heard about before. But you are questioning her honor instead. Do you want to die? Do I need to question anyone? Look behind you and explain to me why they are still here. The Pimple Emperor pointed in a certain direction, and the rest of the Orphan Blood Emperors looked in that direction angrily. There stood 2 humans wearing gold and black armor. One of them was standing seriously, with a golden bow on his back and a bundle of black-tipped arrows, while the other was leaning on a golden spear with a black head and yawning unconcernedly. These 2 humans came with Flora and did not leave immediately, but rather stood back there. When they tried to expel those 2 humans, Flora told them to leave them alone, and then she immediately began to change the subject by displaying the items in her ring. You mean these humans? There. The red-haired man hesitated a little, then looked at his daughter again. Flora, who are these? Yes, Flora. Who are they? Aru, who was leaning on the tree trunk, finally got up and pointed toward Alexander and Raiden. Flora hesitated a little, but quickly made up her mind and opened her mouth. They are 2 of His Excellency's generals. What? His Excellency? Who is His Excellency? What are you talking about? I told you all already. They bought her with food. As expected, all of the Orphan Blood Emperors, who now numbered more than 90, were furious, and even Flora's father had a shocked expression on his face. Aru also looked disappointed, but he didn't say anything and waited for her to continue. Calm down. Everyone. Flora raised her hand and shouted forcefully, and when the situation calmed down a little, she lowered her hand and bit her red lips hard. I will tell you everything that happened to me during the 5 years. All the emperors here were tribe lords or geniuses, So even if in their hearts there was anger toward Flora or a feeling of betrayal, they restrained themselves and listened with stern, disgusted expressions, which quickly turned into expressions of shock, then fear. Flora began her speech by telling about the details of the demon city that she saw on the other side of the space portal, and this was enough to force everyone to listen more carefully. Then she told them about Robin's attack on her when he felt that she wanted to kill him, and how he was not to be underestimated and that he had enough power to confront any of them. And then she spoke to them about the weather of planet Jura and the extravagance that she witnessed in the Imperial City and the experiments that destroyed the great Imperial Palace. Then she started about how she went to the planet Greenland and fought against the huge warlord. Then she participated in the war against creatures called Tree Fathers. And finally, she told them about the situation of the demon emperors and how their numbers multiplied, and about the human emperors and their large numbers. After she finished, she detailed Robin's offer. This was everything that happened to me in 5 years. This is a lie. She's trying to scare us into submitting to that human without a fight. One of the martial emperors started waving around like a madman. The news about the demons in particular terrified everyone. His Excellency has issued his proposal and the decision is now for all of you. I came to convey a message and not to convince anyone of anything. Then she took a few steps to stand next to Aru, embraced his arm, and leaned her head on his shoulder. As for Aru, he looked at the girl sleeping on his shoulder for a while, and finally opened his mouth and spoke in a cold tone, His Excellency. It seems that you have already made your decision. Then he shook the shoulder that Flora was leaning on and walked away from her. Swoosh after being pushed back, Flora did not give up easily. She opened her arms wide and then pounced on Aru from behind, hugging his arm again. I made my decision because I know what your decision will be. His Excellency can give you everything you have been striving for all your life. He will give you a clean and perfect technique for the major heavenly law of lightning to become stronger than everyone, and in return, he wants you to go fight and prove your strength in other worlds. Isn't this what you dream of? To be the strongest in any circle you can reach. His Excellency will grant you this desire, and will even give you a larger arena in which to do what you love. So after all these years you still don't understand me. Aru turned and pulled Flora's hands away from him again, then looked into her eyes with disappointment. I really want to be the strongest, but not for the title itself. I'm not a stupid monster who wants to fight anything he sees. I want more power to be free and do whatever I want whenever I want. Just as I was free when I snatched your love from the Red Flame Dragon tribe against everyone's while satisfying that person's terms will make me his subordinate. He will take away my freedom. Feeling lost, Flora shouted. You have achieved your will here and have become the strongest among everyone and the leader of the unified army. But what then? His Excellency was able to subjugate us with only half of his army. Individual strength elevates you in status, but it will not secure your freedom. Freedom is living among a pack of lions, watching each other's backs, not to be the leader of a flock of sheep. We can be a pack of lions too. Aru shouted forcefully, What are you saying, Flora? Are you really the woman I knew, loved, and fought the whole world for? Are you saying that I have to submit to someone in order to be free? What kind of logic is this? These can be a pack of lions. Who among them deserves to stand side by side with you? You are not more than 70 years old, but you already stepped on all of their faces. When I talk about the lions, I am talking about the likes of Raiden, Caesar, and Jabba. Flora's eyes filled with tears and she began directing her words to the rest of the martial emperors. And all of you, we experienced what is happening now in the ancient times when the first invasion of our world came and they began performing horrific experiments on our ancestors. We all knew that there were higher powers around us, and yet instead of uniting and strengthening ourselves, we did not learn and went back to fighting and eating each other. We forgot about the topic as soon as they left, imagining that the worst had passed, until the demons appeared. Then she calmed down a little. This is the second invasion and the second warning. What will you do to deal with it? If His Excellency had not restrained the demons until this moment, we would all be dead now and we would not have been able to have this conversation in the first place. Even if His Excellency and his demons had withdrawn, what would we do to confront the third invasion when it comes? What about the fourth and fifth? His Excellency Robin Burton has given us excellent terms. We can take all the benefits without swearing allegiance to him, and he will certainly help us if another invasion takes place against us. What more could we want? Finally, we have a backer. Do you think that all the invaders that will come to our planet will be kind enough to give us conditions like these? Quite a few of the emperors looked at the ground with furrowed brows, thinking about Flora's words. Even Aru looked away but clenched his fists until he almost crushed them with a mixture of anger and helplessness. But more of them started pointing at Flora and shouting, "Traitor! Damn it, I knew we shouldn't have used those sacrifices on you. The Red Flame Dragon tribe must give us an explanation for this nonsense. All of you, I am only a messenger conveying a message to you, and I did not say anything other than reminding you of the past. Why did I become a traitor?" Flora looked around feeling lost, but she soon shook her head and gave them her back. "Forget it. Go and die then. Me, Aru, and the Red Flame Dragon tribe will do what we have to do to survive." Flora. The Red Flame Dragon tribe leader almost said something, but he silenced himself and looked away. How could he not know what the rest of the tribe leaders around him were thinking? They would take this opportunity to put pressure on the Red Flame Dragon tribe and force them to make more sacrifices, or perhaps even unite against the Red Flame Dragon tribe now and annihilate them all to get rid of the #1 tribe in the world, all because of his daughter. The voices of a number of emperors began to rise, attacking Flora and the Red Flame Dragon tribe, but it all changed when one of them opened his mouth and shouted, "Humph! She says she carries a message from His Excellency. Shit on her and that bastard called Robin Burr. Ugh." Before the martial emperor could finish his words, everyone heard the sound of a lightning strike, and their eyes flashed white. In the next moment, everyone found that the person who had spoken moments ago was pinned to the trunk of the tree with a golden spear that pierced his mouth and passed on the other side. Then they heard a voice speaking in the language of the invaders. I do not know what he was saying, but he mentioned the name of His Excellency in a tone that I did not like, so I cut off his tongue. "Sorry about interrupting your heated conversation. Please continue. You are courting death." All of the Orphan Blood Planet martial emperors took out their weapons or released their auras without restraints. Even the martial emperor who was pinned to the tree trunk gathered his strength and took the spear out of his mouth with difficulty, spitting blood and screaming, and he also shouted in an incomprehensible voice, "I why kai hai you. Sai, that was an unwise move, you know." Alexander sighed when he saw the situation in front of him, then withdrew the hands that were holding the golden bow and took it out, ready to fire. "You say that, but you were preparing to attack too." Raiden laughed and rubbed his space ring. Another golden spear came out, which he grabbed with both hands. The look on their faces was enough to say that they were ready to fight to the death today. "It's enough, everyone. If a fight breaks out here, no one will benefit except the demons." Flora moved quickly and stood between the two groups. "You are protecting them even after they attacked us first." One of the tribe leaders shouted and then looked at the Red Flame Dragon tribe leader. "What an upbringing you have raised for your daughter. An upbringing befitting a traitor. Please listen to me. Please, no fight should start here or it will." Flora almost collapsed nervously when she felt his hand land on her shoulders and move her to the side. Then the owner of the hand slowly advanced toward Raiden. It was Aru, who looked at Raiden from head to toe. "You like playing with lightning? Huh. Do you like to play with lightning too? I happen to have a similar hobby." Raiden laughed loudly when he saw Aru approaching. Then he planted his spear in the ground and took 2 steps forward. Deep white lightning bolts began to move between his hands. Aru furrowed his eyebrows when he saw those white lightning bolts. From what he could feel, this human was barely level 41, and he had absolute confidence that his purple lightning was second to none. But at this moment he felt a threat that he did not know where it came from. "Enough!" Flora returned to standing between Aru and Raiden, then looked at Raiden angrily. "Don't you want your life anymore? Or do you want to cause problems for your master? Haha, please don't overestimate yourselves. What do I have to fear when I have a perfect lightning law technique? I can get out of here whenever I want, and Governor Alexander is also unstoppable with a perfect wind law technique. Did you think His Excellency has chosen us for no reason?" Raiden laughed again. "I wouldn't speak with such confidence." Sparks started shooting from Aru's eyes. "Ha ha ha, when it comes to individual combat, I am not afraid of anyone but General Caesar. Do you think that because you are 2 levels higher than me, I will be afraid of you? Come and see if the 2 levels will do for you in the face of His Excellency's innovations. Raiden raised his spear again and activated something in his armor, so it began to glow with a faint golden light that gave a feeling of invincibility, and the spear shone with killing intent that forced a number of emperors of the Orphan Blood Planet to retreat. Haha, interesting, come on then. I will restrain my strength to reward a level 41 like you. Show me His Excellency's innovations. But Aru also did not restrain himself even a little. After he finished speaking, he raised his fist and directed it at Raiden. Raiden blocked the attack but was pushed back, a big smile appearing on his face. Nice. I won't use my divine weapon abilities then. Let this be a pure lightning competition. Aru did not respond and went after him in a flash until they both disappeared from the area. Aru, please don't kill him. Flora shouted with all her might. She knew that if Raiden were to fall today, nothing would prevent the demons from wiping the entire planet with blood. The rest of the emperors of the Orphan Blood Planet remained in their place, worried, not knowing what else to do. Even the emperor who Raiden had speared in the throat was looking at the horizon in shock. Should they encourage Aru or stop him? One person remained calm the whole time, and it was Alexander. Raiden's statement that he fears no one but Caesar was not an exaggeration. He dueled with most of the martial emperors at least once or twice, and each time ended in a draw. This point was so suspicious that the martial emperors began to suspect that he was merely accumulating experience and being lenient with them so that they would not hate him, but they agreed on one thing. The boy is a genius in every sense of the word, and the way he fights with lightning makes them imagine that they are fighting against the major heavenly lightning law itself. A genius like this, accompanied by the best armor produced by the Empire containing 26 different runes for defense and energy recovery, and a deadly weapon containing a rate of Uracilium as a spear, along with a large number of talismans and energy pearls. Even someone 2 levels higher than him would not have a good time against him. Boom! The red sky turned into a mixture of purple and white, and the sound of lightning explosions and thunder turbulence struck everyone's hearts. Even the demons left the city and stood on top of the walls to watch what was happening. The most surprised person among them was Sakaar, who rose into the sky with his arms crossed over his chest as he watched the battle taking place not far from the city. If there was one person who knew Aru's power perfectly, it was undoubtedly Sakaar. Seeing him engage in a fight against a human was very interesting. Boom! At this moment, one of them descended from the sky, crashing into the ground like a meteor. It was Raiden. No. Flora screamed in fear, but she did not move forward to try to stop her man this time. She just looked at the sight of Raiden's fall with mixed feelings. Don't worry, the fight has just begun. As for Alexander, he replied slowly. He knew that an injury like this would not affect the golden armor. Then he put the golden bow on his back again and looked at Flora. Maybe you should go back and talk to your people about our issues. As for these 2, let them play for a bit. Play. Did you 2 come today to ask for death? Flora's father came forward and shouted at Alexander in the language of the people of Jura. Why the hell are you still standing between us anyway? Alexander turned to face the speaking emperor with half-closed eyes. Please do not forget that the 5-year period will expire soon. His Excellency gave Miss Flora another 5 years, but that is for you to take your time and come to visit Planet Greenland and Planet Jura. But if you have no intention of thinking about joining the Empire, then there is no need to extend the deadline further. What do you mean with this? The red-haired emperor furrowed his eyebrows. Alexander put his hand behind his back and announced, "This means that we will not leave today unless at least 10 of you agree to come with us to Planet Greenland, thus activating the additional 5-year period. But if you all refuse, and you will have 4 months to do whatever you want before His Excellency's will comes down." These were not His Excellency's words. He did not set conditions like these. Flora quickly protested. His Excellency does not like to talk a lot, but we, his followers, are tasked with translating his words into reality. This additional 5-year opportunity is for anyone who wants to move to Planet Greenland and try his luck there. If all of you refuse, what is the use of the 5 years then? Why would His Excellency give you such precious time? Discuss as you wish. We will not go until we hear a satisfactory response. After Alexander finished speaking, he returned to focusing on the battle between Raiden and Aru, ignoring the shouting, insults, and threats coming from behind in the language of the people of the Orphan Blood Planet. He knew that no one among them was crazy enough to attack him now. And he wasn't the only one watching. The battle in the sky was simply too eye-catching. A number of emperors were starting to curse Alexander and trying to find a solution together, but a larger number of the emperors of Orphan Blood Planet were starting to watch the battle with their brows furrowed. They were shocked at Raiden's resilience so far. Even though Aru suppresses the power level he uses to level 41, he is still using his knowledge of level 43 of the major heavenly law of lightning, and this is something he cannot control. He is like a person in the 6th grade who returned to study alongside students in the 4th grade. The difference in experience and knowledge between them is simply too great to be overlooked. This is not anyone at level 43, this is Aru of the Thunderbolt tribe. The person who subjugated the Orphan Blood Planet and made them recognize his status as the strongest expert at the same level before he even reached the age of 60. And yet, the human boy is still fighting him evenly. They all now have one question in their heads. Regardless of the human army that Flora talked about and from which they saw 2 emperors now, and regardless of the fact that the demons have increased in the way that Flora talks about or not, if this young human joined the demon Sakaar and fought Aru together, what will happen? Damn everything. Basana will come with you. Finally, Alexander heard something in the language of the people of the planet Jura again, and he looked back, smiling. The speaker was an emperor, more than 2 meters tall, holding a spear with 3 blades. The upper half was like a human, but his neck contained gills, and the lower half was like an octopus. Basana, what the hell are you doing? Another martial emperor frowned and shouted. What do you think I'm doing? I will sacrifice myself and go explore that other world to give you 5 more years. The octopus emperor laughed and moved slowly to approach Alexander. Count me with you. A female laugh rang out. Then a woman came forward with wings full of feathers like the wings of a hawk, and long feathers emerging from her head like a crown. All of you. Flora's father looked around in shock and joy at the same time, shocked that all of these people intended to take the invitation of the leader of the invaders into consideration, and happy because his daughter was no longer the only traitor. Are you crazy? Do you really want to go to another world? Walk with your feet to the enemy headquarters. One of the opposing martial emperors shouted angrily and then pointed at Flora. What if they controlled her mind to do this? What if they are making her invite us towards certain death? You're right, that's why I'll go with them to make sure they're safe. A serious voice suddenly appeared, then the sound of footsteps like horse steps, and then its owner appeared, a martial emperor with prominent, strong features. His body was full of muscles at the top, and his lower half resembled that of a horse. And I will go for a few days and evaluate the situation. The opportunity to see a new world will not come every day. And me, I want to test that point system. And me, count me in. After the number of martial emperors who expressed their desire to visit Greenland reached 20, Alexander gave a big smile. For this reason exactly he remained standing and refused to leave. He had been in their place before and knew that no matter how good the conditions were, no one would agree to them for fear of being called a coward or a lowlife. Without some pressure, no one would want to be the first traitor, but with a few words from him, he made it clear that the first person to come forward would be the first to sacrifice and not a traitor, which opened the door for more people to accept the conditions. Boom! At this moment, Raiden descended from the sky again with such force that the earth exploded. Although blood was pouring down his face and his left eye was half closed, he landed on both feet, raising his spear with a defiant smile drawn on his face and white lightning crackling in his eyes. It was clear that he wanted to pounce upwards to continue the fight. Raiden, that's enough. We've gathered a number of volunteers. We don't have to stay here any longer. Alexander quickly stepped forward and shouted loudly. Raiden stopped the momentum he had prepared in his foot. Then whoop, he spat out saliva mixed with some blood, and looked back up. Bullhead, do you want to continue this fight later or do you still insist on dying today? Aru slowly descended from the sky, encased in lightning, maintaining his flawless exterior and powerful aura. By looking alone, it was feasible to tell who won this battle. Aru looked around and noticed the number of martial emperors standing next to Alexander. So he sighed and dispelled the cover of lightning around him. Go, let's continue this fight on another day. Raiden shrugged his shoulders. then inserted his spear into the space ring and began to move towards Alexander. But his words were directed at Aru when he opened his mouth. As long as you are stuck here, there will not be another day. The second time we meet, we will either be brothers or you will be dead. Aru furrowed his eyebrows but didn't say anything. How could he not know the meaning of Raiden's words? According to Flora's explanation, they have a way to advance to the Martial Emperor's realm and use its powers without the need for sacrifices. The time element is not in his favor at all. But at the same time, he did not dare to attack Raiden and kill him now, or even to block the path of Alexander and the local martial emperors who preferred to go with him. In either case, it would mean that he was declaring all-out war on the empire of the invaders. Although during the 5 years, he had prepared a few steps and fortifications and had complete confidence that they would not fall without killing countless numbers of enemies. Avoiding a war of annihilation was still the best option. Within a few more minutes, the number of martial emperors who wanted to go with Alexander stopped at 27. So he took them and Raiden and they left in silence. Aru, please go, let's go with them. A few minutes after Alexander left, Flora approached and gently pulled Aru's arm. But she was surprised to see Aru suddenly clutching his chest and spitting blood and leaning on her with all his weight, his aura weakening greatly without warning. Flora was in shock. She did not know what to do. This was the first time she had seen Aru in this state in years. Are you okay? What happened to you? I'm fine. Aru gathered his strength and stood up straight again. Why are you so stubborn? Why did you restrain yourself to level 41? Do you think General Raiden is someone you can freely fight at the same level? They don't call him Lightning Boy for nothing. His compatibility with lightning has reached 95%. Flora almost went crazy. She cut off part of her clothes and began wiping the blood from her man's mouth, then scanned his body with her soul sense. Ugh, what should I do to you? Your body is full of internal injuries. Death is easier for me than going back on a promise. I underestimated my opponent, and this was my mistake, and I have to bear the consequences, that's all. Aru spoke seriously as he looked towards the horizon. Lightning Boy Raiden. I would love to fight him again. You can fight him tomorrow if we go to planet Greenland. You still have time. As long as the additional 5-year period is activated, we can go at any time during the 5 years. Flora tried to persuade him, my dear, you do not owe these people or this world anything. On the contrary, didn't they destroy the Lightning Bull tribe? Didn't they kill and eat your parents? Didn't the Lightning Bull tribe turn into a meat farm for 5 neighboring tribes before you appeared among them? Didn't you wash yourself with the blood of those 5 tribes and kill everyone who stood in your way until you secured a reasonable place for you and your tribe just to not get eaten anymore? Why do you act as if this hell is your beloved homeland that you cannot abandon? Just take the Lightning Bull tribe with you and let's get out of here. Even with the bloodbath I committed, I would not have succeeded in protecting my tribe without your help. Aru looked sideways and kissed Flora on the forehead. But even if this home is hell, it's still home. As long as one person here believes that he has to fight until the end, I will help him. Then he flew towards the horizon without adding a word. Flora couldn't help herself and hit the ground with her feet. Arg. You just want to keep your promise that you will be the leader of the resistance until the end. Why did I have to love an idiot like you? Almost 4 years later, within Robin's soul domain. Yes, like this. You almost did it. Come on. Evergreen's voice was low but clearly audible. Robin's silver avatar was sitting cross-legged with both hands raised, his features looking annoyed by Evergreen's nearby voice, but he didn't say anything. But Evergreen did not remain silent, but rather her voice became louder. So she began to look up and hit the ground with her feet. Here we go. Here we go. The last refining step is almost complete. If you close your mouth, I will do it faster. Robin had had enough, so he opened his eyes and shouted, Your refinement has already reached 100%, and all that remains is the process of connecting with my soul domain. Now shut up and let me focus. Humph. If you had listened to me and gone to absorb the primal soul of one of the other tree fathers, you would have become stronger and would have finished the refinement much faster. Evergreen turned and kicked Robin sitting next to her. The war on the planet Greenland became much easier after the human martial emperors gained the ability to use their power, and even more after the mercenaries from the orphan blood planet came one after another. The rest of the Tree Fathers and the leaders of the human tribes were killed, and the Tree Father Tefina surrendered. Whenever the human martial emperors were about to kill a Tree Father, she would warn Robin to stop them, and he would go do it and absorb his soul force and primal soul, but every time he ignored her. "TSK, I won't take in another damn thing until I know what's going on in there." Robin couldn't move because he had to complete his technique or he would get up and hit her on the head, so he just sighed and pointed with his eyes in a certain direction. In that direction, there was a tree so abnormally huge that the rest of the trees in the soul domain looked like grass next to it, and it kept growing. This is not the problem. The problem is that that huge tree is an exact copy of Hoffenheim. This tree first appeared as a small plant when Robin absorbed the primal soul of Hoffenheim, but Robin ignored it since there were countless trees and other plants. That plant became a shrub, then a tree, and then slowly grew until it reached this height. Even though he did not feel any danger from the tree, on the contrary, as it grows larger, he feels that his soul force increases, but he is still skeptical towards that thing. Do you still think that he will rise from the dead and try to take over your soul domain? How funny you are, Uncle. Evergreen grabbed her little belly and laughed loudly. Didn't I tell you repeatedly that you have nothing to worry about? How exactly will he revive? Tree Father Hoffenheim's primal soul was destroyed and you successfully absorbed it, meaning he no longer exists. Sorry, but I don't trust short devils like you, Robin replied firmly. Is this a joke? This mischievous little villain caused a 200,000-year-long war because she did not tell all the facts to the Tree Fathers. What guarantee does he have that she won't do the same to him? Well, I think you make sense, but I can't tell you everything while we're still strangers. This is taboo. Evergreen raised her small shoulders. But that's okay. This lack of trust won't last long. After you become my owner, you'll feel if I'm telling the truth or hiding something. So I'm not worried that you won't believe me. After you finish the connection process, I will tell you everything about that Hoffenheim copy. Good. Now be quiet, and let me continue in peace. Then he moved his eyeball to look at her. If you keep bothering me, I'll stop the connecting process. Understand? That damn thing is hard enough. Evergreen raised both hands and placed them over her mouth, then looked back at the picturesque scene above. It was a giant green sun. No, it was a giant green planet. Rather, it was an exact image of the planet Greenland. Like that in the planet spirit domain, but this one is different in that it is larger and radiates a warm life force. Whatever it was the only thing shining in a different color than the white and silver that dominated the place. After Robin finished refining the planet spirit, he did not feel any change. Then Evergreen told him to return to his soul domain, and then he found this green sun hanging in the air. Then Evergreen gave him a new technique and told him that he now had to connect his primal soul to that sun, and that it would not take him much time. This was a month ago. Robin's eyebrows were twitching the whole time. Connecting something external to his primal soul was not that easy, but rather something abnormal and exhausting beyond description. He also now realized how dangerous a total connection with a planet spirit was. If the planet spirit was forcefully taken from him, it would be taken out alongside pieces of his primal soul. This would mean inevitable death. Deep inhale. Get it over already, you damned bastard. Robin shouted loudly when he felt like he was about to finish. Then he lowered his hands to the ground and began to pant. Something strange began to happen everywhere around Robin. His soul domain began to expand at an insane speed. All the remaining white soul force in his domain began to slowly turn to silver in color. As for the green sun, it continued to rise until it reached a certain distance, and then its radiation increased in strength until it colored the sky of the world within Robin's soul domain green. The embodiment of Robin's soul slowly stood up and looked at his hands. The fatigue that had covered him moments before had disappeared, and his limbs seemed longer. Robin looked towards the pool of water next to him quickly and found that the childish appearance that was dominating his features had finally disappeared and was replaced by his appearance as a teenager. Haha, finally a tangible benefit from all this headache. I've gotten taller than you once more. Look. Haha. Evergreen. When Robin turned around, he found Evergreen still looking up, still placing her hand over her small mouth, and her eyes full of tears. How can you not cry with joy? She had an owner before it entered the middle planetary belt. How many planetary spirits had been able to do something like this since time immemorial, out of billions of planets? 10 planets. 20. This achievement alone is enough for her to be proud of, even after she is destroyed and returns to primal chaos. Only after a few minutes did Evergreen seem to remember something, so she hurried over and turned to Robin, then knelt on both feet. Evergreen thanks the owner, and hopes to be of use to you on your path to glory. Robin smiled big when he saw Evergreen kneeling in front of him, not because he wanted to see her so submissively, but because he just now felt that he had accomplished what he had worked so hard for. He had become the owner of a planet. Robin waved slowly. Get up. Seeing an annoying person like you kneeling is not easy on the eyes. Let the relationship between us continue as it was. Evergreen nodded and then looked back at the green star happily. She was looking at her second home. Robin walked over to stand next to her and looked up as well. To be honest, it's a beautiful sight and has added wonderful color to my soul domain, and for some reason, it's also given me a huge boost in my soul force. But then what? This can't be it, right? Robin looked down at Evergreen. What can you give me now that I'm your owner? What about that Terra Beast army that you promised me, for example? The Terra Beasts. Is this what you thought about when it came to benefits? Your ambition is very simple, uncle. Anyway, I used my authority and modified a number of beasts of Terra to increase their production of cubs, so that their total number reached 1 million beasts currently present in a valley in the south of the planet. I will give you the exact coordinates of the place any time you want to bring them. Evergreen finally took her eyes off the green star and laughed. Now let's get into the real benefits. Since you mentioned the topic of soul force, let's start with it. You have now linked your soul domain with planet Greenland's spirit realm, and this will not only give you an immediate boost of twice what you have accumulated in your entire life, which is almost 3,000 units, but it will multiply the speed at which you gather soul force from your surroundings several times and will double any soul force that gets in. As I see it, it is only a matter of time before this place is filled with soul creatures. In front of this burst of information, Robin was unable to show any reaction other than opening his mouth in stupefaction. Huh. Evergreen put her hand to her mouth and giggled. Let me explain in more detail, my dear owner. In the advanced planetary belts, starting from the middle-aged planetary belt, there are more uses for the soul, and it is an essential part of the path of cultivation. So you cannot say so-and-so's soul is stronger than the average or mine have become stronger than his, and this is a kind of floating vocabulary, and there are no specific noticeable levels that can say that so-and-so is at such and such level. You experienced it yourself when you still had a white soul and you were lord over everyone who also had white souls. So special measurement system for the soul has emerged, and I will teach it to you now that I am allowed to tell you these things. Then Evergreen put her hand behind her back and raised her head up, then started walking back and forth. When it comes to the soul, there are clear realms which are represented by the colors of the soul, the primal white, the silver weapon, the royal purple, and the golden sovereign. But the differences between a single color are too wide, so another more accurate system was needed for evaluation, and from here the system of units was created. For example, the white primal soul starts from 1 unit up to 1,000 units. Any living being, when it is born, has a soul force equal to at least 1 unit preserved within the primal soul, and these are stupid people or people with mental disabilities, but the general average is 5 units per newborn, and for those who are born geniuses like you are often born with a soul force between 10 units and up to 50 units. Then she stood up and pointed at Robin. You fulfilled the 1,000 units requirement and upgraded your soul to silver weapon level. Then you continued to gather more force and then took a huge batch of Hoffenheim's initial soul until you collected 3,000 units in total, and now my refinement has given you another 3,000 units, meaning that you have a total of 6,000 soul units. This is actually not bad at all, especially when you know that the second strongest person above planet Greenland when it comes to the soul, Zara, still only has 250 units. Only 250 units. This doesn't really sound good. I've always been telling myself that the soul strengthening technique is missing something, it's too slow, but I can't figure out a way to develop it yet. Robin rested his chin on his hand and furrowed his eyebrows, already beginning to think of a way to measure soul strength units. Evergreen told him about the system and how it is used, but he still has to develop a technique or an item for the actual measurement. Evergreen raised her small shoulders. Actually, Your technique is not bad at all, as it pushed an entire army to reach 100 units on average. Don't forget that the Tree Fathers who lived for hundreds of thousands of years also had white souls, meaning they did not exceed 1,000 units. Then she pointed at him twice, but it's really nothing compared to the soul techniques of the middle-aged planetary belt, and that's because you lack knowledge. Knowledge. Robin stopped thinking about how to measure units of soul force and looked at Evergreen again. In what area exactly do I lack knowledge? You created a technique to collect the soul force from your surroundings and annex it to your own. But do you know what the origin of the soul force you are collecting? Evergreen put her hand on her waist. Robin furrowed his eyebrows slightly and shook his head. The answer is no, he doesn't know. If the question had been about natural energy, he would have answered with what he knows, which is that the planet absorbs energy called primal chaos around it and turns it into natural energy so that the creatures of the planet can bear it. As for the soul force, Robin had always treated soul force as just natural energy with different properties. Wasn't it? Wait, soul force. Could it be? It seems that you got it. The soul force that is always surrounding you and that you are trying to absorb is the remains of the souls of dead creatures. Evergreen nodded. The remains of the souls of dead creatures. Was that legend true then? Robin sat there weakly. It is common on planet Jura that after death, the body is destroyed while the soul floats around the place where it died for a while before fading. What is new in Evergreen's words is that the soul does not just fade completely, but turns into a soul force that benefits other creatures. When one thinks about it, how many species have lived on a planet since its genesis? Is there a digit that can even describe this number? If every creature among them left one soul unit behind, the available units of soul force would be truly enormous and could even compete with natural energy in terms of density. But it will also be a limited quantity that will not be renewed unless more creatures die. The white soul only ranges between 1 and 1,000 units, yet Hoffenheim and the rest of the Tree Fathers have been trapped in it for nearly 500,000 years. Robin rubbed his chin for a while. Then what about the silver soul? I have 6,000 units now, but I still have a silver soul. Is it possible that I need 10,000 units to reach the purple soul? In fact, it takes 1,000,000 units for your soul to turn purple, but as for the number that your soul needs to completely turn into gold, there is no need to even mention it. Evergreen giggled and her laughter increased even more when she saw Robin's pupils widen after hearing the number. Haha. Your problem is that you see soul power as a side thing for more concentration, for example, or using it in devious techniques like soul slavery or something basic like transferring information. You are greatly undervaluing the power of the soul. Didn't you notice that you subjugated Tree Father Hoffenheim, an emperor who lived for hundreds of thousands of years, by using the power of your soul alone? Then Evergreen went back to walking back and forth. The soul force is not completely understood by you, and I realize that, but you should know that it has its own cultivation path, and there are many powerful experts who do not use anything else other than the soul force. You can, for example, divide any soul realm into 4 sections, which are primal, medium, high, peak. Someone with a white soul at the primal level, that is, having 250 soul units like Zara, can easily kill knights using only the power of her soul. And someone with 1,000 soul units, for example, can fight an emperor face-to-face using soul techniques. A person with 1,000 soul units can face the emperors. Robin raised his eyebrows in surprise, but he didn't overreact. Well, not the emperors. There is a big difference between the sagehood realm and emperor realm, as you know. With 1,000 units alone you can barely escape from the weakest emperor, but I guess it still counts. Evergreen laughed. Even what is this explanation? Robin was still keeping his serious expression. 1,000 units may not seem like a big number, but Zara, who reached the emperor realm about 5 years ago, barely got 250 units. This means that it is easier to reach the emperor realm than it is to reach 1,000 units, or this applies to their current information at least. But at this moment, he opened his eyes wide and shouted, "So this means I? Hee, you are a person full of treasures, my dear owner, and although you always complain about your luck, it helped you achieve a technique that can compensate for the bad luck you have faced throughout your life." Technique? Robin furrowed his eyebrows further. You mean the soul-filling technique? You're right. The technique boosted from approximately 400 units to 3,000 units in just a few years, and without even trying to exploit it to the fullest extent. Evergreen's eyes sparkled as she looked at him. I don't know how you were able to come up with this soul-filling technique with its current details. But even in the middle-aged planetary belt, This technique is considered a high-level forbidden technique, and whoever possesses it considers it a treasure and never passes it on to anyone or even talks about it. I advise you to do the same if you want to survive. Treat it as your greatest treasure, because it truly is if you use it appropriately. After sending a lengthy look at Robin, she continued, I don't think there are many others in the young planetary belt other than you who have 6,000 soul units. Evergreen stood still and pointed at him twice excitedly. With 6,000 soul units, you can literally dominate everyone at the Emperor realm or lower, and if used correctly, you can even safely escape if someone in the World Cataclysm realm wanted to kill you. But that is, of course, if you have powerful enough soul techniques. Even if you have muscles, they will not benefit you if you do not have a martial art that can exploit them to the maximum. I can escape from someone in the World Cataclysm realm. Is this the name of a realm above the Emperor's realm? Robin felt that his legs lacked strength, so he created a seat under him with soul force and sat on it with his brows furrowed. The amount of information that Evergreen had flooded him with could not be easily digested. In his view, soul force was indeed a means of doing side things to help or strengthen him mentally, but he had never thought of using it as a means of combat. But suddenly he learned that he had the qualifications to escape from someone above the Emperor realm. This is amazing. But he quickly curbed his enthusiasm. He knew that the inheritance of the planet Jura regarding soul matters was very weak, and after communicating with 3 other planets, he could say with confidence that the inheritance of the soul force in the entirely young planetary belt was useless. He is already a user of the Eye of Truth and can research this path, but where does he start? When he started with the internal energy system, the system was already in place and reasonably advanced, but when it comes to the soul and body strength, he looks at a blank sheet of paper. Let's put aside the soul strengthening and revitalizing techniques he created that were not good enough. Where can he get such powerful offensive and defensive soul techniques that would enable him to withstand an emperor, let alone this World Cataclysm realm expert? Robin was lost in thought and continued to rub between his eyebrows. His feeling now is similar to someone who has a powerful weapon but can't leave it. He has great strength, but he does not know how to harness it. After a few minutes, he seemed to remember something, so he put aside thinking about the matters of soul techniques and asked Evergreen calmly, You spoke a while ago about the imminent appearance of soul creatures. What is this? It's not too complicated. You've already seen one of those. Evergreen shrugged her shoulders and pointed in a certain direction, towards the huge tree in the middle of Robin's soul domain. Hoffenheim. Robin quickly stood up and shouted, What the hell is a soul creature? I knew there was something strange about that tree. Hey, calm down. Didn't I tell you that it would never harm you? Also, he has been within your soul domain for years now. Did you feel anything malicious from it? On the contrary, its presence can only benefit you. Evergreen spoke with a sarcastic smile stuck on her face, a smile that angered Robin greatly. Okay, why are you looking at me like that? We need to work on your sense of humor a little bit. Evergreen waved with a laugh, and then her features turned serious again. Do you remember what I said about the origin of the soul force you absorb? Yes, the soul force originates from the remains of the souls of dead creatures who once roamed the planet. Robin nods. Good. Then what if the souls of the dead creatures you absorb still retained some of their characteristics?